Hello, good morning and welcome. You're most welcome indeed. It's Destination Newry you've logged on to, and my morning programme, Good Morning Newry and Mourne, Good Morning Ireland, and of course, Good Morning the entire world out there. It's good to have you with me. I hope you'll stay along for the next 3 hours for what we've come to regard as my eclectic mix of music and musings. Good conversation as well, and we have lots of that in the pipeline for you. I'm Rowan Hand. Steeleye Span it livens us up at this time of the morning in Ireland. I don't know what time of the day it is where you are across the globe. The Irish News this morning, a magnificent photograph capturing the spirit of generosity of Newry people when they converged on that home of Newry, that sort of social hub of Newry, the Canal Court Hotel. That generosity exemplified in the raising of £42,000 on the night for the repatriation and in memory of Kevin Bell, who died a few days ago in New York. Kevin is now home, reposing in the family home, and the funeral will, of course, take place on Saturday. So a wonderful photograph of people who love doing the right thing and who did the right thing in relation to Kevin. That's it. So we'll have more about that later, but let me bring you up to date with some news from Northern Ireland this morning. The police are moderately optimistic that there will not be serious problems this year as a consequence of the marching season, when the 12th of July people, the Orange Orders, go off marching around Northern Ireland. Traditionally that has happened, and traditionally now, it's a new tradition, there has been difficulty. The Assistant Chief Constable of the PSNI, Alistair Finlay, said it was important that the new image of Northern Ireland, the successful image as exemplified in the G8 talks, that should not be spoiled by local tribalism. Well, I think we all share that view. Mr. Finlay, he was the man in charge of the police operation, the security operation up there in Enniskillen for the summit. He said continuing dialogue would help the marching season to pass peacefully. I don't think we can predict that we will have a difficult marching season. Nice optimism there. There's been lots of positivity and dialogue. That dialogue is continuing, so there isn't any reason why we will have trouble this marching season. There you are, that's the start of it. Now, still with the police service of Northern Ireland is facing a challenge over its plans to hire 900 temporary staff. The challenge was launched in the High Court on Wednesday by Northern Ireland's largest public sector union. The Northern Ireland Public Service Alliance claims that the Chief Constable Matt Baggett acted unlawfully by authorising the recruitment of external contractors to provide support services. The kind of thing they'll be supporting with will be guard duties in police stations, answering phone calls, custody detention officers, monitoring closed circuit television cameras, and close protection unit drivers. The problem seems to be that the contract actually could be worth 180 million, and a barrister acting for the union said there was no legal basis for the contract, which was awarded to a company called Resource. Frank O'Donoghue, QC, said the Chief Constable didn't have the legal authority to award the contract, nor could he do so on behalf of the Policing Board. No legal basis, he said, for the decision, and asked the court to declare the contract unlawful. Now, the contract is scheduled to run for an initial 3 years, but could be extended for another 4. And I think this is the crunch point. It opens the way for the PSNI to hire former Royal Ulster Constabulary officers. And that's difficult because Mr. O'Donoghue, just as a matter of interest, represents the parents of Raymond McCord Jr., who was beaten to death by a UVF gang in November 1997. 6 years ago, the then police ombudsman, Nuala O'Loan, published a report which said some RUC officers had protected his killers. So I think the connection there is obvious, and it's been hammered out within the courts. In the Republic, the Taoiseach Enda Kenny has reiterated that there will be no free vote for Fine Gael on the protection of life during pregnancy bill. That's to be debated in the Dáil tomorrow. Backbencher Peter Matthews sought to bring a motion calling for freedom of conscience on the issue of a vote at a meeting of the parliamentary party yesterday evening. However, there was no colleague there to support the motion. Earlier, Fine Gael TD Brian Walsh informed colleagues that he would not support the bill. The Galway West TD had expressed concerns before the legislation was published, told Mr Kenny last night that he couldn't vote for the bill as it passes through the Dáil. In an email to colleagues, he said he regretted he had no alternative but to do this. It has the unintended effect of placing you, my colleagues, under additional pressures from some of your constituents. Apparently there's another 10 going to line up to oppose the bill, specifically opposing it on the basis that suicide, the threat of suicide of the expectant mother, is felt to be a reason for terminating the pregnancy. Pro-life people, and indeed one of Ireland's greatest humanitarians, Sister Concilio of the addiction centres, said that in her experience, women were most suicidal after they had an abortion, and that they were not necessarily suicidal because of the prospect of life. Oh, we go back 50 years now to the presidential visit to Ireland of John F. Kennedy, and a fire taken from the eternal flame at the graveside of that former US president will arrive in Ireland this morning on board an Aer Lingus flight from New York. There will be a welcoming ceremony at the airport when the flame will be transferred from the care of the Irish Army to the Naval Service. The flame will travel to New Ross in County Wexford, and having travelled from Arlington Cemetery in Virginia, the flame will be used to light the immigrant flame at a ceremony in John F. Kennedy's ancestral home at New Ross on Saturday. And it's all to help part of the ceremony to mark the JFK 50 celebrations to commemorate the President's visit to Ireland in June 1963. Now, we have some notices for you, people who have passed away within the recent past, certainly within the last 24 hours. And we saw there of Kevin Bell, the fundraising in Newry to repatriate him and to commemorate him. And Kevin, of course, dearly beloved son of Collie and Ethna, cherished brother of his twin Brendan, Sean, Ciara, Eamon, Connor, Maeve, and loving grandson of Arthur and Anne Morgan, and Kathleen and the late John Bell. Kevin's remains will be removed from his late residence, 30 Ashton Heights, on Saturday at 11:15 for 12 noon Requiem Mass in the Church of the Sacred Heart in Clog. Eleanor Flynn, née McKevitt, died on the 18th of June, peacefully, surrounded by her loving family. Beloved wife of Jim, devoted mother of Marie, Anne, Jim, Sean, Karen, and Helen. Her remains will leave her late residence, 42 Barcroft Park, tomorrow Friday at 9 o'clock in the morning for the 9:30 Requiem Mass in St. Catherine's Church, the Dominican, in Dominic Street. Burial will occur afterwards in Clog Cemetery. And death in Rathfriland, William John McGinn, dearly beloved husband of Susan, father of the late Christina, 12 Downpatrick Street in Rathfriland. The funeral from his late residence on Friday at 11:30 for the 12 o'clock Requiem Mass in St. Mary's Church, with interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. And from Australia, news of the death of a citizen of that land and also of Cady in County Armagh. Annette McGinnity died suddenly in Australia. Beloved partner of Kevin and mother of Tia, Kirby, Shay, loving daughter of Margaret and the late Malachy, sister of Malachy and Helena Fagan, and sister-in-law of Patricia and Patsy. The funeral mass on Saturday in St. Mochu's Church, Derrynoose, will be at 11 o'clock in the morning, with interment of her ashes immediately afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. We extend our deepest sympathy and condolences to the families and friends of those who have passed away. And Sean tells me he loves Rod Stewart, and plus he supports Celtic, so I don't know if that's a burden or a blessing, but you can do your own call on that. It's Destination Newry with you, of course, and it's my morning programme. Good morning, Newry and Mourne. Good morning, Ireland, and of course, good morning to the wider world out there. Rod Stewart bringing us into the territory of loss, the broken heart of a love affair gone. It's over. But is anything ever over, I ask you? The wheel keeps turning, and every day offers you new opportunities, breathing in new air, looking at new sights, looking up at the grey skies that are there from day to day. But the one thing you can always be careful of, and be sure of really, is that above the grey, every day, there is blue. So that's a meteorological fact. That's how it is. But it's also a kind of a metaphor for life, is it not? No matter how problematic things are for you, there's always blue above the grey. Just remember it. It stands me in good stead. I hope it stands you and will stand you in good stead as well. Now, this Newry of ours is a wonderful compendium of interesting places and people. It's a place of burgeoning industry, new sort of microchip industry, like First Derivatives down at the side of the canal, like all that's happening at Parker Green International Property Development of a socially aware nature across the globe. First Derivatives, of course, they're doing the software packages for the money management systems of the world, and that's all coming out of Newry. It's an extraordinary development from a Newry that had 30% of its people unemployed when 30 years ago. How things change. Now, I'm starting today a little series of going out into Newry and picking individual outlets, individual companies, individual businesses. Well, we're downtown. Many of them with traditional links back deeply into the heart of Newry. Some of them new and youthful and entrepreneurial and networkingly doing great things within the community. One such place is the Grounded Coffee Bar, and it's on the, older among you will remember Savoy Corner, where the cinema used to be. Bellini's is there now. But there at that corner, on the junction with Monaghan Street and the Quay, you find the Grounded Coffee Bar. And it's a place of networking, it's a place where people go to chat, it's a place where people go to simply chill out and shoot the breeze with friends, and people who will become friends through the experience of Grounded. Sean followed me there yesterday, and we cavorted our way through the wonderment and stories of Grounded. Sean, will you roll it there? Thank you. Well, we're downtown in the city of Newry. I remember it more as the town of Newry, but it's a bustling city these days and improving all the time, with all kinds of projects mentored for the area, including the redevelopment of the canal side area, the replacement of the old trees, and replacement with evergreen trees. The old had gone bad. The new walkway along the side of the canal is going to be mighty indeed. Grounded, where I'm outside now, is an iconic meeting place in the heart of the town. It's a place for networking, it's a place for people meeting, being friendly together, a place for coffee. And one of the regulars here is Herbie Chan of the Reflex Gym. Welcome, it's good to see you.
Yeah.
You've built a lot of muscle onto your body during your life.
Not too bad. Competing all the time.
Yeah. When did it all start for you?
10 years ago just. I had liver failure when I came at 45. So I came out of hospital, I joined the gym, and I've never looked back.
And were you the traditional sort of 7-stone weakling before you started?
Yeah, when I came out of hospital I was 6.5 stone actually. Wow. So now I'm competing. The next competition is Mr. Universe on the 12th of October. Placed 3rd in the world last year.
Wow. What do you do to build the kind of musculature you have got? What's the secret of doing it?
It's a lot of food. A lot of hard training 3 times a day, 5 days a week. Yeah. And of course coffee out of Grounded.
Well, look, we can see obviously what you're like on the outside, but what is all of this regime of lots of food and lots of exercise? How's your heart?
Well, obviously healthy, because it's all healthy food I eat. Don't eat no fats or anything like that, only essential fats. All my food's all proteins, good complex carbs. So it's all healthy food that I would be eating, so we're pretty healthy, you know.
Grounded has become, your gym's just down on the quay, down a little bit from Grounded. Why, what's special? It's very much your home from home kind of thing.
It's just as good fun. Barry, there's always something, bit of fun with them, bit of crack. When I'm dieting for my shows, when I've cut all my carbs out, I'll be training at 6 o'clock in the morning. So Barry was always in here at 5:45 in the morning to open up so I can have a coffee to give me some energy before starting my training. So there's not many places would do that for you at that time in the morning.
Well, look, you're in going to these shows. It's about body beautiful. It's also about body strength. You're a strong man.
Yeah, well, not so much strong enough, but it's too. We don't really go with strength. It's just showing off what you have, Bodybuilding and powerlifting are two separate things, two totally different things, But of course you're strong, but it's how you look, it's not how strong you are.
You wouldn't like to go back to the 6-stone man that you were before the liver failure?
No, thanks, no. I enjoy this too much. It's very addictive. Once you start, you just don't want to stop, especially once you get on the stage and you keep improving, you get better and better, and then you're up against the best in the world and you want to beat them, so you just want to go back.
It's an extraordinary enough thing, but women do this as well. I've seen women with built-up bodies like yours.
Yeah, a lot of women do it. We have a couple in the gym there now too that competes and do very well at it. Yes, there's different categories. They've done away with the Mistress Physique and the women. They're all muscles. They're just toned, trained figure now.
I want to tell you that in the morning time when I look at the full-length bathroom mirror of me, because I trained as a young... What are you laughing at? I trained as a young man with Buster McShane.
Yeah.
And I look tolerable when I'm full on. But see, when I go sideways into profile, it becomes seriously unattractive.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, training, weightlifting stuff, it keeps you young. I'm 55 now at the minute. I have no notion of stopping.
No.
I see plenty of people at my age that don't do any exercise, and they look 10, 15 years older than I do.
Yeah.
So it's all good.
Do you find that the lifting causes a problem with your spine, your back, or do you have any aches and pains?
Oh, well, you have aches and pains, but no, not really. If you do everything right, do everything in proper form, and look after yourself, it's perfectly okay.
Well, look, thanks for talking.
No
We're going to go back into ground. Come with us now, Sean. We'll go back into Grounded. You lead the way, and we'll let you get on with your coffee. Come on, Sean. We'll head into Grounded. Yeah, we'll not go very far. Yeah, there we are. Well, we're in Grounded, of course, and the ethos in this place is one of outreach to ordinary people. It's an ethos of good rather than bad. It's local produce all the way, and local people, mostly young people, in here being employed. A young person who's at the heart of Grounded doesn't belong to this part of the world at all. He's Tony from India, and if you look, you see one of the pictures that Tony painted using implements that he held in his mouth, because he's severely challenged physically. No left arm, tiny right arm, no right leg, tiny left leg. But he's hugely intellectually stimulating, intellectually confident, gives people lots of hope for the future. Tony would say to you, I can do anything in spite of the way I am. I'm the way I am because God wants me to be this way. I can do anything, but it just takes me a little while longer. And I went to India to rescue Tony where he was a prisoner. We got him out of India, and he's now in the southeast of England in King's School in Eastleigh, down in the southeast of England. And we've done other projects in India in order to praise Tony and honour Tony for his courage. Here at Grounded, of course, Graham, the owner of Grounded, purchased this from Tony. This picture is, of course, Mangadu in India, near Chennai. And the Mangadu there is Tony's Chennai, Tony's Mangadu, the place he lived all his life. And this is the work he has done. Graham bought this picture and a picture we will show you presently from Tony at £800, for goodness sake. And this went into Tony's education fund. So this is Tony's Mangadu, but if you come with me now and follow me round, you're okay to shoulder this, Sean, and we'll keep walking, watch behind you. I'll bring you to Tony's Newry and Mourne. So let's go and do this. He has heard me talking about Newry and Mourne on many, many occasions, and being a man of imagination and hoping that one day he would come this way, that he would go to Newry and Mourne and see Newry and Mourne. He came and he painted this, you see it on the wall behind this lady. And this is Tony's vision of Newry and Mourne, painted in Mangadu in India when I went to rescue him from the rural countryside there. He had no documentation, he had no passport, he had no birth certificate, and therefore he could never leave India. But through good efforts of the SMA fathers in India and the Hindu man, Mr. Balu, we discovered all of the necessary documentation and managed to get Tony out of India and into education in the southeast of England. That's where he is today, doing hugely well. His colleagues, his friends in India, they're benefiting as well because we have provided things there for them. Things like the ambulance, things like the bridge in the village, things like the health program. All of that's happening, and Tony happens to be, quite coincidentally, because of the joy of this place, Grounded, at the very heart of the ethos, and greatly supported by Grounded, all the customers, and Graham Finnegan as well. Come on, we look somewhere else, okay? Let's go, Sean. Graham, Grounded, a certain ethos there that allows you to outreach to the world. You outreach to Tony, you spent money, 800 quid you paid for those 2 paintings. Wonderful paintings, lovely generosity, and that helped us get Tony out of India.
Well, that's right. I think whenever we seen the paintings coming up in the auction house in Dublin, and there was that connection with Newry there, and whenever you hear about Tony and his wee story and everything, you make a connection with him, and that's what the paintings do every day in the shop. Even now, whenever you come in every day, you might notice them so much, but visitors at a time come in and they remark about them and they ask you questions about the story behind the acquisition of the paintings for the shop.
It's an icon, if you like, for the generosity of ethos that is Grounded.
Well, Grounded is essentially a community-based business. We're good at we've created our own grounded community in it, but as such we would extrapolate that feeling towards anything and try to support a community, because we know that if we've got a successful community around us, well then we're going to have a successful business.
Yeah, and you're on the banks of the canal here. We're just ready to take off with a new bankside walkway all the way through from the quays through to Sands's Mill. Is that something you're welcoming?
I'm looking forward to it. The canal for so long has been behind walls, behind a wall that you can't see the thing, and sometimes that's a good thing with the rubbish and that. But I'm sure if it's part of the public realm scheme now for Merchants Quay, it's going to get cleaned up. It's going to be a lovely promenade to walk up and down, and it gives life to the city centre. I think the town centre. I think that's what we need. We need people using it more. We need people walking around. We need people enjoying it, and creating a walkway like that. I think people will enjoy it more.
Your premises is populated by young Newry people, young Newry students who are earning their money with you and paying their way through university. You're reaching into their futures and helping them.
Well, that's right. One of the things we take on staff. We've got staff there that have been with us since we're now 7 years old in November, and we've got staff there that have been with us for the 7 years. A good majority of them there for 7 years. Usually the people who leave us are leaving because they're away off to the States or Australia or England. But those students that go to university in England, they come back to us every summer, every Christmas, every Easter, and they stay with us. So, which is exceptional in the restaurant trade. Generally you get a high turnover of staff in the restaurant trade. But I think that's a testament to the customers who come in the ground, because the staff enjoy it, and they're a very important part of Grounded, and they make it what it is today.
The beautiful family of Grounded. Thank you very, very much indeed. Let you back to your coffee making.
Thank you very much.
What's the fancy word for coffee making?
Barista.
Barista.
The person who makes
You're the barista. You go for the barista and enjoy the coffee. That's where you go. Go quickly. You get across now. Go. Yeah, I'm holding the hand of this beautiful woman, young woman, Jessica Boyd, because Jessica is one of my great crop of grandchildren. Jessica, it's so lovely to see you home from university.
It's lovely to see you too, Grandad.
And you're here working away. You have a regular spot in Grounded. This is where you work to raise the money to work your way through university.
Yeah, well, it's good working for a local community and working flat out.
Yeah, it is busy, isn't it?
Busy all the time, from we're open till we're closed.
So, open till we're closed, and 6 o'clock in the morning people are here?
Well, yeah, Monday to Friday it's open 7 to 12 midnight, and Saturday and Sunday it's 8 to 11 p.m.
Wow. So, and there's a whole different buzz to it at night time.
Yeah, there is. It's for all ages, from infants to, it's quite popular with young people as well. And then there's elderly, it's suitable for all ages. But at night time there is a younger crowd.
Now you're away at university in Newcastle upon Tyne. Mm-hmm. What are you studying there?
Geography and environmental management.
Wow, yeah, that's important. What do you think of this canal for environmental management?
It could get a wee seeing to, so it could.
A seeing to as a reference to doing good. There's Donald O'Donnell, a former wonderful editor. There's things going to happen here, and that's good. So we're glad about that.
Yeah.
You've been away on a few field trips, yes?
Yes.
Where did you go?
I went to Cumbria in northwest England, and it was gorgeous there. Very scenic.
we're going to let you go back now because
Yeah,
there's
I'm
lots
very
of
busy,
people
actually.
needing to be fed.
Queuing
Come on,
out the
hold my
door.
hand, we go back. You follow us back. Okay, way back we go. Come on, let's go.
Back to you.
Yeah, back to me. Wow, that was a surprise ending to a lovely piece, for goodness sake. Okay, can we turn down or we'll get howl around. Thank you very much indeed there. The technicians in the background doing the wonderment of the flickery of the switchery. That's a way to look at it. Not quite sure what happened there at the end of it, but you get the message that we're doing this nice little visitation thing, going out into the community and meeting the people. And my thanks to all the folk in Grounded who certainly made us welcome and thereafter bid us farewell, and we're off in other directions. And Sean, if you would talk and just keep on the camera, please, that would be great. Thank you. I don't know if this affects you or not, but I've just been handed a fellow called James Gandolfini. He's a soprano star, and he's died in Italy at the age of 51. James, the actor best known for his role as a therapy-seeking mob boss in The Sopranos, has died at the age of 51. They think it was a heart attack, you know. He rose from being a bartender all the way to Broadway. His friends said he was a special man, a great talent, but more importantly, a gentle and loving person who treated everyone, no matter what their title or position was in life, and he did so with equal respect. That's the man of The Sopranos. Now, the police service of Northern Ireland are increasingly optimistic that we can get away this year through the July marching season, the Orange Order marching season, without significant disruption or trouble. And that's something we all hope will occur. The Assistant Chief Constable Alistair Finlay said it was important that Northern Ireland's new enhanced image as a consequence of the G8 leaders coming here, that this kind of image to the world isn't spoiled by tribalism. We're very good at tribalism in Northern Ireland. Mr. Finlay was responsible for the PSNI's security operation surrounding the G8 summit. And he added, I don't think that we can predict that we're going to have a difficult marching season. There's been a lot of positivity and dialogue. The talks have taken place in Cardiff, and lots of different groups of people have been coming together. Can you imagine that as a way forward, to take the warring factions, so to speak, warring factions in inverted commas, and bring them out of Northern Ireland away to Cardiff in Wales, and give them a weekend in Wales, not a recreational weekend, I don't think, but a weekend of talking to each other. Really a harbinger, perhaps, for them coming back to Northern Ireland and talking to each other at home. Was it Churchill who said, jaw is better than war. And the police service in Northern Ireland is facing a legal challenge over its plans to employ 900 temporary staff. The Northern Ireland Public Service Alliance Union, the largest public sector union in Northern Ireland, is objecting to the contract of 180 million being awarded to a company called Resource, and they'll be responsible with that contract for providing the 900 temporary staff into the PSNI. And the kind of things they'll be doing will be guard duties at police stations, answering phone calls, custody detention officers, monitoring CCTV cameras. That kind of thing will be their responsibility. But the worry is that in this initiative, former members of the Royal Ulster Constabulary could apply for posts and could gain posts within this auxiliary wing of the PSNI. And people aren't happy with that. In particular, the family of Raymond McCord Jr., who was beaten to death by a UVF gang in November 1997. 6 years ago, the then police ombudsman, Nuala O'Loan, published a report which said some RUC officers had protected his killers. Mr. McCord's parents opposed the hiring of former RUC officers on any temporary contract because of concerns that they may be involved in the investigation of killings where there are allegations of collusion with the police. Well, they won't, I think that's not going to happen. They won't be involved in investigating. They will be involved, it seems, in the menial, almost menial duties of guarding police stations, answering phone calls, custody detention, that kind of thing. But that's continuing at court in Belfast. In the Republic, the Protection of Life Bill, which is a misnomer if ever I heard one, the Protection of Life During Pregnancy Bill, as I say, it's a bill calculated to allow for death through abortion. And the Taoiseach, Enda Kenny, is refusing to allow his party TDs, his members of the Dáil, allow them the right to a free vote dictated by their conscience. He's saying they must toe the party line and they must actually vote for the bill. And that bill, and this is a sticking point in the middle of it, that bill is allowing the prospect of suicide in an expectant mother as a consequence of her pregnancy, that is taken as a reason for allowing the abortion of the fetus, of the baby in the womb. And a lot of people in Ireland are not happy with that. Sister Concilio of the great addiction centres throughout Ireland, wonderful humanitarian, has made the point that when women present to her place of caring, her places of caring, that those who come having had an abortion are more likely to wish to end their lives than those who come pregnant and expecting a baby. So suicide is more likely as a consequence of abortion than as a consequence of an unexpected and perhaps unwanted pregnancy. Going back 50 years now to the visit of John F. Kennedy to Ireland, you remember it well if you're of a certain vintage, and I hope if you are, your memory is good and you recall it. But the fire taken from the eternal flame at the graveside of the former President, J.F. Kennedy, will arrive in Ireland this morning and board an Aer Lingus flight from New York. There will be a welcoming ceremony at the airport when the flame will be transferred from the care of the Irish Army to the Naval Service. It will then travel to New Ross in County Wexford aboard the ship the L.E. Oria. Having travelled from Arlington Cemetery in Virginia, the flame will be used to light the immigrant flame at a ceremony in John F. Kennedy's ancestral homeland of New Ross. And that's going to happen on Saturday. The ceremony is part of the JFK 50 celebrations to remember the President's visit to Ireland in June 1963. And finally, I take you to China and an extraordinary, horribly cruel story, really. It's a festival devoted to dog meat, and it's going ahead in China despite protests by animal rights campaigners. The annual celebration sees dogs being packed into cages before being killed, skinned, and eaten. However, China's growing animal rights movement has responded with increasing determination. I think the good news coming out of that story, the only good news coming out of that story, is that now, in July 2013, there is such a thing in China as an animal rights campaign, an animal rights organization. I really don't believe we would have seen that 20 years ago. So maybe there are good things are happening. Maybe things are moving there. Now, time to take you to notification of deaths in our community. We have learnt of the deaths of the following good people, friends and family members all. We've learnt of the death in Newry of Eleanor Flynn, ní McKevitt. Eleanor died peacefully on the 18th of June, surrounded by her loving family. The beloved wife of Jim and devoted mother of Marie, Anne, Jim, Sean, Karen, and Helen. Her remains will leave her late residence, 42 Barcroft Park, tomorrow Friday at 9 in the morning for the 9:30 Requiem Mass in the Dominican Church in Newry. Burial afterwards in the Clog Cemetery. And of course, the remains of Kevin Bell, who died tragically in New York, are now resting at home in Newry. Kevin, dearly beloved son of Collie and Ethna, cherished brother of his twin Brendan, Sean, Ciara, Eamon, Connor, Maeve, and loving grandson of Arthur and Annie Morgan, and Kathleen and the late John Bell. Kevin's remains will be removed from his late residence, 30 Ashton Heights, on Saturday at 11:15 for 12 o'clock Requiem Mass in Clog Chapel, the Sacred Heart Church in Clog. And death in Australia of a Cady woman, McGinnity, Annette McGinnity, beloved partner of Kevin, and mother of Tia, Kirby, and Shane, loving daughter of Margaret and the late Malachi, sister of Malachi and Helena Fagan, and sister-in-law of Patricia and Patsy. The funeral mass will occur for Annette on Saturday in St. Mochu's Church in Derrynoose at 11 in the morning, interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. And William John McGinn of Rathfriland, dearly beloved husband of Susan and father of the late Christina of 12 Downpatrick Street in Rathfriland, has passed away, and the funeral will occur from his late residence on Friday at 11:30 for 12 o'clock Requiem Mass in St. Mary's Church, with interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. We offer the family, the friends, and the community which the folk belong to our deepest sympathy at this sad time. Right, welcome back. I'm still here. I hope you're still there and that we are in communication, as they say. I was thinking there, that story in the news about hopes for a quiet Orange Order marching season. The great joke that's told, I shared it with you if I may, just after the Battle of the Boyne. And if you remember at the Battle of the Boyne, King William defeated King James. Billy won the Battle of the Boyne. And he was on the high ground overlooking the valley. And down there, sitting on a rock at the edge of the stream of the Boyne, of the river, he got to be concerned about James. And Billy thought, James doesn't look too happy. I do hope he's not going to do anything serious and awful and irrevocable. I'll go down and talk to him. So James made his way down on his horse, down the turfy sod all the way to the water's edge, got off the horse and said to James, "Hello, James. I know you've lost, and I know you're heartbroken. I know we hammered you on the field of battle. I know your enemy, your army, is going home dejectedly, ashamed, unable to hold their heads up. I know it seems the end of the world, James, but don't let it get to you. I know it seems the end of the world, but really, it's not. It really isn't. Like in a month or two, there'll not be a word about it." And they're still killing each other over it today. There's a man going to join me now who, for the course of the last number of hours, has been on the treadmill of words upstairs in the sporting arena of our internet space and our office space and our newspaper space. And here he is, Damien Rafferty. Hello, how are you?
Morning, Rob.
You're our man of sport.
Man of sport, yeah.
You're dressed, you've got the whole thing there, by gum. Did you see that sporting fellow with the great musculature at Grounded talking to
I did,
me?
I seen Herbie, yeah.
Yeah. Herbie wouldn't do too well as a right half forward.
No, but he said an interesting point in your
What was
interview.
that?
He said he doesn't do it for strength, it's only for looks.
Yeah, I
So he would
know.
win an arm wrestle. though.
Well, I think I know this concept of doing it for looks. I think
You know,
I'm greatly blessed in this regard.
You don't have
As
to
are
look
you,
too hard
you
at
see.
it.
We have a fellow in here who's the spitting image of that Hollywood actor George Clooney.
Oh,
What's
Connor.
that?
Connor.
What's his
Connor
name?
Donnan.
He's the spitting image of him, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's go to sport. What have
Sport
you got
growing,
for
back
me?
in the newspaper, an interesting story in the
Am I
Irish
allowed to interject?
News. Of course,
Okay. We'll do that.
yeah. Mark Poland was on actually and complained yesterday that you...
Mark, I love you, baby. And I don't believe that.
No, he didn't, no. Jim McGuinness was in Croke Park yesterday in his role as Celtic Performance Director, but they've tied up a deal with the GAA. But more interestingly, he has said that players who are playing next Friday night, it's the first time ever I think a championship match is on a Friday night
Yeah.
to attract crowds, but he said they should be compensated for having to take work off on Friday.
Yeah.
Now the GAA president was along with him yesterday, Liam O'Neill, and completely disagreed with him.
Well,
So-
the surprise.
Surprise.
The GAA, the Grab All Association, some would say. Others would say the Give All Association. But the one thing you're not giving is employment justice to your athletes on the field.
True.
Did they pay for all of your injuries and looking after
Oh, they
you?
did, yeah.
They did?
They did, in fairness.
well,
yeah,
they
yeah.
did. I
Well,
like it.
maybe not them, the insurance companies did, but
Oh, the insurance company.
yeah, they
that's
looked
good.
after me well.
Yeah, that we have to say that. This man who was injured on the field of play, putting his heart and soul into it for Down.
Yeah.
This man, when he needed to be looked after by surgeons, physiotherapists and apothecaries, the GAA stepped up to the plate and paid.
They did.
Well
Fair
done.
play to them. But that's just an interesting story coming out, which was completely different than what they went there to do, to
Yeah.
work together. But
Yes.
also in the Irish news, Down Miners, Pete McGrath has said he has no fears of Tyrone for Sunday.
Yeah.
They play in the semi-final, so that looks good for Down. At the back of the Belfast Telegraph is that David Moyes, the new Manchester United manager, in his first 5 fixtures, because the fixtures was released yesterday, he comes up against Chelsea, Liverpool and Man City.
Oh my God.
So he doesn't have an easy start.
That's called a baptism of fire.
Exactly, yeah.
Absolutely.
On the back of the newsletter, a great bit of business by Liverpool. They've sold Andy Carroll to West Ham for 15.5 million after buying him for 35 million less than 2 years ago.
Can you get your head around this?
No, lost 20 million on him
And
in 2 years.
But it's not the loss of 20 million, it's the amount of money that's changing hands.
Oh, it's crazy.
But I
yeah.
mean, have you any regrets that you chose to go into the GAA rather than soccer? Because you have no hope of getting anything money-wise out of the GAA.
No.
But you have if you go to soccer. So why did... It's a no-brainer. You become a soccer player, not a GAA player.
Yeah, well, you play a bit of both, and then comes to a certain stage where you have to commit to one or the other, because you physically, your body and the time you have can't commit to both.
Follow the money.
So
Follow the money.
if you're out there listening, following the money.
You're listening, all my friends who are good footballers, Jack, follow the money.
Follow the money. So, in the Lions, they've named their starting team for the first test on Saturday morning. I think it's 10 o'clock
Yeah.
on Sky. We have 4 Irishmen on it.
Wow.
No surprises. Brian O'Driscoll, Paul O'Connell. I was going to say Ronan Sexton, but he plays for Down.
He does.
Johnny Sexton
Johnny
and Jamie
Sexton.
Heaslip.
Yeah. Have they ditched our man, Rory Best?
If that's Roy, he's still in the squad, but they pick a panel, I think, of 22 or 23 that play in the test, and the other 20 lads
I remember.
will play again next week.
I remember, and it's not so very long ago, I was at Cork Airport coming back up from my nationwide duties in RTE, and the Irish rugby team were there, or at least a large proportion of them, they were there, and they were in talking and laughing and joking. They were it struck me, they were the loveliest group of people I'd come across. Gentle, communicative, nice human beings, and people came up to them looking for autographs, women with babies in arms. They made much of people. You know, there was something enormously pleasing to be there in their company.
Yeah, well, the rugby lads would nearly have a different mentality than the soccer lads. You know, they would be open and they know they're representing their country.
Yeah.
You know, well, the soccer lads have maybe too much money.
I think that's part of the problem. You can have too much money.
Too
and
much money.
And what would you do with it? You know, you need enough to do you and
need
get
enough,
by,
yeah,
but
yeah.
beyond that,
Beyond that, Ron.
yeah.
Finally, just to remind everybody about the run, it's a run and a walk tonight in aid of Kevin Bell. Registration is from 6 p.m. in Uri Shamrocks. £10 entry fee. There's a 10k run, and I think the 5k walk has been reduced to a 2k walk to accommodate more people. It starts around 7:30 with the runners off first, because they're obviously going to be quicker.
Yes.
And if everybody could support that, but down to register 4-6, expecting a big crowd
Okay, that's down at our old
in the Greenbank.
footballing or my old footballing alma mater, the Shamrocks.
In the Shamrocks, and also on our website, Facebook and Twitter, we'll have the route. We'll have a map of the route
Yeah.
that if people is interested. So
Yes.
check that out. That's all, Ron, for this.
I'd like to thank you for that contribution
problem.
to this wonderful program.
Keep up the
What
good
did you
work.
think of him in Timbuktu? He's good, isn't he? Yeah, you're a good lad. Go well. Sean, let's have some music, please. Yeah, taking you back to a story in the Irish news, a couple of stories really in the Irish news today. In the Republic, a rebel TD has claimed that the new abortion laws are based on absurd notions and nonsense that could lead to the widespread demand for abortion. The man is Brian Walsh, he's Fine Gael, and he's the third party member to announce that he will vote against the legislation. He also warned that up to 10 others of his colleagues will do the same thing. And this is leaving him open to expulsion from the party could be the end of his political life, because the Fine Gael leader, Enda Kenny, is insisting that they toe the party line and there's no such thing as a free vote. And basically what our friend, the TD, Brian Walsh, is saying is that there's medical evidence to support, it's here, he says, this is his quote, "Psychiatrists have stated unequivocally that abortion is not an appropriate course of action in the treatment of a patient presenting with suicidal tendencies. In fact, there is compelling evidence to suggest that the provision of abortion in such circumstances poses a greater risk to a woman's mental health than it would seek to solve. In framing the proposed legislation, the government has completely ignored the evidence and has come up with a bill that has been shaped by political considerations rather than clinical evidence." That's one that's going on, but it does seem as though the Republic of Ireland will be legalizing abortion within the terms of the bill, and that is causing a great deal of concern in Ireland. I don't know. I have to admit that my position, I've pinned my colours to the flag. I am opposed to abortion. In fact, I was the first journalist in the National Union of Journalists in Ireland 30 years ago to resign from that union, because the union had developed a secretariat in support of female members who wanted to have abortions. And I went against that, stood against that, and will continue to oppose that. But to me, none of these things are simple. They are indeed complex. But it seems to me abortion should only occur in a situation where the life of the mother is threatened. If the life of the mother is threatened by going through with the pregnancy, then the life of the mother must be preserved. That needs to be the case. The life of the mother must be preserved. And if that means the baby should die, then the death of the baby is a necessity as a consequence of the preservation of the life of the mother. And medical science is sophisticated enough to allow the baby in the mother's womb, in that extreme circumstance, to pass from this life into the next in a gentle and easy and loving way. Goodness gracious, we can put creatures of the fields down without pain. When it comes to that sort of choice, we should be able to do something wonderful and gentle for the baby who must perish as a consequence of preserving the life of the mother. These are things that will be prayed about, I'm sure, in churches all over the land, and in particular at the Solemn Novena, which is back in Clonard in Belfast. Back, blue skies and sunshine welcoming back the Solemn Novena. It's in its 70th year. It's a phenomenon that has crossed the decades, opened its arms across West Belfast to embrace not only the rest of the city, but all of Northern Ireland and beyond. For many, the Novena at Clonard has become an essential pilgrimage. Tens of thousands of people will attend the 10 sessions, which will start at 6:45 in the morning, held for 9 days, to pray, to worship, to attend Mass, to hear guest speakers from other Christian churches and traditions, and meet other worshippers. Prayers for the unity of the Church are a characteristic of the Novena, reflecting a ministry that has become synonymous with Clonard. Now, we had it earlier in the week, and by popular demand I'm bringing it back again, because the people up at Clog and in Upper Killeavy see their ancestry, see the people who came before them in the film that I discovered in the BBC in Belfast. Some years ago, Canon Henry Devlin, now deceased, Henry produced a magnificent film in 16mm format about the life and times of Upper Killeavy, and it's called Kick Any Stone. Now, by dint of wanting to gain wider publicity for it, it was given into the BBC, and the BBC had it there on its shelves 25 years ago. And I discovered it there in the time before my leaving, or on a visit back shortly after, and it was on on a shelf that was marked for dumping. There was a great bonfire of the vanities within the BBC at the time, round about the time of the new work developed at Broadcasting House, and the move across to the Blackstaff site across the road. So there was a danger that it was going to be destroyed. I quietly took it away, and it has lain in my attic for the last God knows how many years. But I sent it a month ago to the transfer house in London at Wardour Street in London, and got it repaired, put back together again, and got it copied into a master DVD. And we're going to bring it to you now. It's the story of the community of Upper Killeavy, of Clog, brought to you now through the wisdom, the sheer wisdom of Father Henry Devlin, rest in peace. And this now is Kick Any Stone. Sean, take it away.
Slieve Gullion, the Mountain of Mystery, has captivated the imagination of many a poet and travelling bard. Standing like a massive sentinel, it guards the undulating plains of South Armagh. From its summit you can see into 7 counties, Dundalk Bay shimmering in the distance, and the lakes of Monaghan are clearly visible on a sunny day. It was from here that the ancient Celtic warriors kept watch against their foes and unwanted intruders. Slieve Gullion abounds in legend and history, as we discovered on meeting Michael J. Murphy, that well-known Ulster folklorist.
Is there much folklore associated with Slieve Gullion and the surrounding valleys?
Oh, Lord Dicer, it's all folklore and history. Like just what I was explaining there, you know, about Cuchulainn, or Cullen rather, and how the mountain was called after him. That's where Cuchulainn got his name there on the side of Slieve Gullion. Because old Cullen the Smith had a big feast for King Conor, and they were after coming from Dundalk out there. And Satan, as he was then, was behind them playing hurley, and when he came, of course the place was shut up, the boys were having this big feast, and the hound was wild outside. The wolfhound had attacked Setanta, and he had to defend himself, and he killed it. Well, Cullen was in an awful state. But he said not to worry, because from that on he'd appoint himself his hound. So that's why he was called Cuchulainn. So that's the way. Look, I'll kick any stone there, and so the history leapt up at you.
We had not far to travel before discovering a little more history. Just below Slieve Gullion, Clonchagora Cairn reminds us of those who lived in these foothills some centuries ago. Michael J. was right, for these stones are steeped in history.
Cairn was built in the middle or later part of the Neolithic period, so it dates from 2500 or 2000 BC. How well it has withstood the ravages of time. When this area was excavated in 1937, many interesting things were found in the burial chambers here. Small pieces of burnt human bone were discovered, which suggests at least one cremation. Also found were fragments of highly decorated handmade pots with many pieces of flint, including arrowheads and scraping tools. The cairn is one of the most impressive of the 200 known Irish examples of what archaeologists call quote cairns. From its shape, it was a burial ground of at least 3 chambers built of massive slabs. Our early ancestors used these flat slabs to roof the burial gallery. These were laid horizontally and rest directly on side stones. The outermost chamber was approached from a U-shaped forecourt through an opening formed by a pair of tall portal stones. The entire burial gallery was covered with small stones forming a cairn. All traces of this cairn or stone mound have been removed and used in the building of Newry Canal and the stone banks around Conchagora. It is good to see so much antiquity preserved for posterity.
Our interest awakened even more by a visit to this ancient monument, and with our minds visualizing the lives of these early inhabitants of south of Ulster, we remained still in the shadows of Slievegallion to examine what seems at first to the uninformed a rather large stone standing aloof and lonely at the bottom of the mountain. But yet it is an important symbol of the Christian tradition.
You are all welcome to the Gap of the North. This 7-foot stone is called the Stone of Kilnasagat. Now Anne will tell you all about it.
This is the most important inscribed monument in Ireland, and the name means the Church of the Priests. It shows that a monastery stood on this spot and was probably used by the Canons Regular, founded by the patroness of Ireland, St. Bridget. The birthplace of St. Bridget is only a few miles down this path towards Dundalk at Faughart. This stone is much older than Christian times and was set up to commemorate some ancient warrior. When the monks settled here, they adopted the pillar stone and carved a number of crosses on it. The crosses with curled arms and circles are ancient. The straight crosses are more modern additions. There are 5 large and 5 small circles which represent the miracle of the loaves and fishes. The Old Irish inscription is highly important. The translation is, Tiernach, son of Kieran the Little, dedicated this place under the protection of the Apostle Peter. The Tiernach mentioned here died in 714 AD. Tradition says he was brother of Thomian, Archbishop of Armagh in 623, and that both of them were among the 10 notable clerics buried around this stone. These slabs indicate their graves. Fields around the stone have special names like Millfield, Kilnfield and Damfield. These give positive proof that the monks worked here. Moira Castle, which looks down on us, was built in 1601 to guard the pass between Killeavy and Dundalk. If only the stones in this valley could talk, they would tell us of fierce battles that were fought around Kilnasagat. Only the nearby Wart Well stone announces a message. Warts are removed by washing hands in the water collected in the hollowed boulder.
This field is known as the Wart Well field, and anyone who washes their hands in the hollowed mark in the stone will get their warts cured.
Once again the countryside resounds to a bell ringing, calling us to the foot of the mountain. Just as the local saint, Saint Menina, was summoned in the 6th century. Legend has it that Menina, undecided where to build a church, heard a bell ringing and was drawn to this very spot on which stands Killeavy Old Church.
Killeavy Kilsleva means the Church of the Mountain. It is a very ancient and was once an important church. It was originally founded in the 6th century by Saint Menina, on having restored a dumb poet's speech. We have here not one church, but 2 churches, an eastern one and a western one. The eastern church is of a much later date. The western doorway, with its immense trimmed stones, with one single slab forming the lintel, probably comes from the 9th century. It was destroyed in the War of 1641. In 1477, this church was the scene of an extraordinary conference. There was 2 claimants for the see of St. Patrick in Armagh. One was Eamon Conisberg, who was chosen by the king as primate. The other was Octavian del Palacio, who was papal nuncio. At the conference in Kalevi, Conisberg agreed to resign the see, provided he could retain the title of Archbishop and be paid 20 marks per year by Octavian. Octavian was then recognised as primate. St. Menina must have helped from her home in heaven. Her protection is sought today not only by the Meninas, the Blinas and the Ninas, but by all pilgrims who visit her holy well on the slopes of Slieve Gullion. We will now go up and take a closer look at the church. You have now passed through the west door. This lintel stone is 1,000 years old. Another interesting feature is the holy water font, which was used to receive many into the Christian church.
We are tempted to remain longer examining these silent stones, whose silence somehow seems to speak to us. As we leave Slieve Gullion, one cannot forget the words of a local poet. Have you stood on the slopes of Slieve Gullion when clouds fleck the blue sky above and paint with sunshine and shadow the face of the land that we love, making deeper the purple of heather and adding new glow to the green? Then you saw all the little white houses that were quietly taking their ease, as if they were tired from climbing and glad of the comfort of trees. Have you seen the fair land of Kalevi, with gorse bush and broom as her gown? Or as changed from that gaudier mantle, she dons the rich bronze and the brown that comes on the bracken and heather when autumn comes gently down? If that's all you saw plenty to gladden the mind and the heart. But luckier still if yours is a mind that can tear the year's curtains apart. We have torn the year's curtains apart and find ourselves standing on the flagstaff. From this wonderful vantage point, you can look across the estuary towards the Mourne Mountains and see Clochmore, the big stone, which that legendary figure, Finn McCool, being enraged one day, is reputed to have tossed from Slieve Foy on the opposite side of Carlingford Lough.
The hoisting of the flag on the flagstaff is history repeating itself. In the days of the sailing ships before radio and radar, this flag signalled the approach of ships on the bar of Carlingford Lough. The annual hoisting of the flag, depicting a sunburst on a field of St. Patrick's blue, with the tips of sails emerging over the horizon, reminds us of all the signals sent from this beauty spot. Our visit gives us an opportunity to view the most breathtaking panoramic vista unrivalled anywhere in Ireland.
Today, the hoisting of the flag is a signal to the Anna Brewer to sail towards Newry for the last time. Because the canal which linked Newry with the world in 1742 will close as a navigational waterway. We are waiting to welcome the last ship. The lock gates have closed. They have done their job well. It is with nostalgia and a great deal of pride that we make this last historic journey along the 4-mile stretch of calm water to the port of Newry. For 2.5 centuries it has carried generations of Irish men and men of many nationalities. On the 28th of March 1742, the Cope of Loch Naze sailed through the waterway to Newry, en route to Dublin, carrying a cargo of Tyrone comb. Newry, with its valuable sealing, was at one time the 4th largest trading town in the whole of Ireland. Flour, oatmeal and linen were exported. Sugar, fruit and timber arrived from foreign climes. Like the Newry-Omeath and Newry-Warrenpoint railway lines, another old link ceases to carry merchandise. The new carriageways branching from Newry to the ultra-modern ports of Warrenpoint and Greenore lead us into the 70s. The oil storage tanks are now obsolete. No longer will ships with exotic and mysterious names dock to unload their cargo. Is this the end of the canal? Public opinion demands that the canal be maintained. How much pleasure it can give to many. Large ships will not disturb the calm and peaceful waters, where enthusiastic anglers fish for pike, trout and perch. Newry Canal must in the near future become famous for coarse fishing. Will we possibly see a flotilla of small craft, canoes and punts, plying up and down the canal on a beautiful summer's evening? The Venice of Ireland. Why not? Our journey is now almost complete as we sail into the port of Newry. It has not changed much over the years. And in 1974, the Anna Brewer, like so many ships of yesterday, docks to unload its cargo of oil. Soon it will move slowly and sadly towards Carlingford Lough and the open sea. Lighter in weight, but like so many of us today, heavier in heart. The Anna Brewer will continue to trade. It leaves behind a colourful history and heads towards a future of hope and optimism for Newry and more. A bright future, but one tinged with sadness. We have seen a glorious yesterday. We look forward to an equally glorious tomorrow. Perhaps in another century, another group of young people like ourselves around Slieve Gullion and the mountains of Mourne will kick any stone.
Wow, a remarkable record, a testament to the people of Upper Killeavy. Now, I have no way of making this DVD available to the people of Upper Killeavy, but what I'm hoping might occur is that great good will come from my discovery of the film in the BBC, and from my restoring it and making a master that's usable. And my hope is that the parish of Upper Killeavy will accept the DVD back together with the 16mm film and will agree to make a substantial donation to the St. Mary's Schools project in Papiri, northwest Nigeria. That's where I'm building my schools. SMA Fathers are involved there, the OLA Sisters are involved there. And it seems to me that the parish up there would have a magnificent vehicle for selling that DVD to the people of the parish, because all of the children are there for those who come after them to see. The whole life and times of the place is there. So I hope to be talking to the people up there with a view to doing a deal, as they say, that the parish will make the donation to St. Mary's Schools in Papiri and make a big difference in the lives of the people in Africa, and then receive back the DVD that I rescued and make it available on a sell basis to the families within the parish. That's what's going on. Coming shortly, something called Men's Sheds in Newry. You may not know of that, but it's an interesting and a very important concept, and I will be bringing you the story of it in a moment or two, well, in about 10 minutes' time. But first of all, let me tell you what's happening in the news. Nothing is moving, as far as I can see, significantly since we last talked. But I do know the senior police officer is optimistic that there won't be trouble during the coming Orange Order marching season. Assistant Chief Constable Alistair Finlay said it was important for Northern Ireland to move forward and to build on the good image created by the G8 summit, and that it shouldn't be spoiled by tribalism. He said dialogue would help the marching season to pass off peacefully. I beg your pardon. And the Police Service of Northern Ireland is facing a legal challenge over plans to hire 900 temporary staff. The challenge was launched in the High Court yesterday by Northern Ireland's largest public sector union. NIPSA claims that the Chief Constable Matt Baggett acted unlawfully by authorising the recruitment of external contractors to provide support services. The contract could be worth up to 180 million. Now, there are two areas of concern here. One is the NIPSA industrial concern at the nature of the contract, and the other is the concern of people who are directly involved in alleging that their loved ones died as a consequence of RUC collaboration with paramilitaries on the loyalist side. And the feeling is that if former RUC officers are hired in on this temporary basis through this idea, that they could be part and parcel of a system that people felt was wrong in the beginning. And it was Nuala O'Loan, actually, the police ombudsman at the time. Her report said that some RUC officers had protected the killers of one man in particular, Raymond McCord Jr. He was beaten to death by a UVF gang in November 1997. That's what happened there. So the Republic row goes on about the new legislation on abortion, and it's coming into sharp focus now with an increasing number of TDs there objecting to being forced, those within Fine Gael, to toe the party line of support for the bill. And the bill is allowing, crucially and controversially, the bill is allowing suicide, or the threat of suicide of an expectant mother, to be given as a reason to abort the living baby inside the womb. So abortion, they're afraid of abortion on demand as a consequence. Other people say that the worst possible threat is created for suicide when a mother has had an abortion, and after the abortion the psychology and the ethos of worry and guilt and all of that could drive a mother to suicide, and seldom if ever does the threat of an unwanted pregnancy lead a person to suicide. That's continuing in the Republic of Ireland as I speak. And as I speak, the fire taken from the eternal flame at the graveside of the former US President John F. Kennedy has arrived in Dublin Airport on board an Aer Lingus flight from New York. It's coming here as part of a ceremony to commemorate 50 years on from the arrival at his ancestral home in Ireland of John F. Kennedy those 50 years ago. The flame will travel by sea from Dublin to New Ross in County Wexford, and having travelled from Arlington Cemetery in Virginia, the flame will be used to light the immigrant flame at a ceremony in John F. Kennedy's ancestral home of New Ross on Saturday coming. Now I can bring you news of deaths in our community which have come to our attention, and of course Kevin Bell's death we know of, and he was the dearly beloved son of Cully and Ethna, cherished brother of his twin Brendan, brother of Sean, Ciara, sister of brother of Ciara, Eamon, Connor and Maeve, and loving grandson of Arthur and Annie Morgan, Kathleen and the late John Bell, grandparents as well. Kevin's funeral will leave his residence at 30 Ashton Heights on Saturday at 11:15 for 12 noon Requiem Mass at Clog Chapel. And in Newry, Eleanor Flynn, nee McKevitt, died on the 18th of June. She died peacefully, surrounded by her loving family. Beloved wife of Jim, devoted mother of Marie, Anne, Jim, Sean, Karen and Helen. Her remains will leave her late residence at 42 Barcroft Park tomorrow Friday at 9 in the morning, and that's for 9:30 Requiem Mass in St. Catherine's Church, Dominic Street. Burial afterwards in Clog Cemetery. William John McGinn, Rathfriland, dearly beloved husband of Susan and father of the late Christina, of 12 down Patrick Street, Rathfriland. The funeral from his late residence on Friday at 11:30 for 12 o'clock Requiem Mass in St Mary's Church, with interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. And from Australia and Cady in South Armagh, Annette McGinnity died suddenly in Australia, beloved partner of Kevin and mother of Tia, Kirby and Shane, loving daughter of Margaret and the late Malachy, sister of Malachy and Helena Fagan, and sister-in-law Patricia and Patsy. Funeral Mass on Saturday in St Muckhu's Church in Derrynoose at 11 o'clock in the morning, and burial immediately afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. We extend to all of those folk, all of our friends, all of those people in our community who are suffering from these bereavements at the present time, and we offer them our condolences and our sympathy and wish them well in all that they're coming through. Right, are you back with me, Sean? That's good. Coming now to a repeat of something we did earlier in the program. It's the first episode, if you like, of my outreach into the community. We're a city of various parts. We're a myriad of interest and activity. You have all kinds of businesses out there. And I'll be going out into the community to meet people, to meet business establishments, to hear of the woes, the travails of life, the joys, the excitements, all the things we do. My first escapade, my first expedition took me down to the end of Monaghan Street at the canal and into the territory of Grounded. Sean, will you run it there? Well, we're downtown in the city of Newry. I remember it more as the town of Newry, but it's a bustling city these days and improving all the time, with all kinds of projects mentored for the area, including the redevelopment of the canal side area, the replacement of the old trees, and replacement with evergreen trees. The old had gone bad. The new walkway along the side of the canal is going to be mighty indeed. Grounded, where I'm outside now, is an iconic meeting place in the heart of the town. It's a place for networking, it's a place for people meeting, being friendly together, a place for coffee. And one of the regulars here is Herbie Chan of the Reflex Gym. Welcome, it's good to see you.
Yeah.
You've built a lot of muscle onto your body
during
your life.
Yeah, not too bad. Competing all the time.
Yeah. When did it all start for you?
10 years ago just. I had liver failure when I came at 45. So I came out of hospital, I joined the gym, and I've never looked back.
And were you the traditional sort of 7-stone weakling before you started?
Yeah, when I came out of hospital I was 6.5 stone actually. So now I'm competing, the next competition is Mr. Universe on the 12th of October. Placed 3rd in the world last year.
Wow. What do you do to build the kind of musculature you have got? What's the secret of doing it?
Just a lot of food. A lot of hard training 3 times a day, 5 days a week. Yeah. And of course coffee out of ground.
Well, look, we can see obviously what you're like on the outside, but what is all of this regime of lots of food and lots of exercise? How's your heart?
Well, obviously healthy, because it's all healthy food I eat. Don't eat no fats or anything like that, only essential fats. All my food's all proteins, good complex carbs. So it's all healthy food that I would be eating, so we're pretty healthy, you know.
Grounded has become, your gym's just down on the quay, down a little bit from Grounded. Why, what's special? It's very much your home from home kind of thing.
It's just as good fun, there's always something, bit of fun with them, bit of crack. When I'm dieting for my shows, when I've cut all my carbs out, I'll be training at 6 o'clock in the morning, so Barry is always in here at 5:45 in the morning to open up so I can have a coffee to give me some energy before I start my training. So there's not many places who do that for you at that time in the morning.
Well, look, you're in going to these shows, it's about body beautiful, it's also about body strength. You're a strong man.
Yeah, well, not so much strong enough, but we don't really go with strength. It's just showing off what you have, you know. Bodybuilding and powerlifting are 2 separate things, 2 totally different things, you know. But of course you're strong, but it's how you look, it's not how strong you are.
You wouldn't like to go back to the 6-stone man that you were before the liver failure?
No, thanks, no. I enjoy this too much, it's very addictive. Once you start, you just don't want to stop, especially once you get on the stage and you you keep improving, you get better and better, and then you're up against the best in the world, and you want to beat them, so you just want to go back.
It's an extraordinary enough thing, but women do this as well. I've seen women with built-up bodies like yours.
Yeah, a lot of women do it. We've a couple in the gym there now too that competes and do very well at it. Yes, there's different categories. They've done away with the men's physique in the women. They're all muscles. They're just toned, trained figure now.
I want to tell you that in the morning time when I look at the full-length bathroom mirror of me, because I trained as a young... What are you laughing at? I trained as a young man with Buster McShane.
Yeah.
And I look tolerable when I'm full on. But see, when I go sideways into profile, it becomes seriously unattractive.
Unattractive, yeah, I know, but I mean, training weightlifting stuff, it keeps you. I'm 55 now at the minute. You know, I have no notion of stopping.
No.
You know, I see plenty of people at my age that don't do any exercise, and they look 10, 15 years older than I do.
Yeah.
So it's all good.
Do you find that the lifting causes a problem with your spine, your back, or do you have any aches and pains?
Oh, well, you have aches and pains, yeah, but no, not really. If you do everything right, do everything in proper form, and look after yourself, it's perfectly okay.
Well, look, thanks for talking.
No
We're going to go back into ground. Come with us now, Sean. We'll go back into grounded. You lead the way, and we'll let you get on with your coffee. Come on, Sean. We'll head into grounded. Yeah, we'll not go very far. Yeah, there we are. Well, we're in grounded, of course, and the ethos in this place is one of outreach to ordinary people. It's an ethos of good rather than bad. It's local produce all the way, and local people, mostly young people, in here being employed. A young person who is at the heart of grounded doesn't belong to this part of the world at all. He's Tony from India, and if you look, you see one of the pictures that Tony painted using implements that he held in his mouth, because he's severely challenged physically. No left arm, tiny right arm, no right leg, tiny left leg. But he's hugely intellectually stimulating, intellectually confident, gives people lots of hope for the future. Tony would say to you, I can do anything in spite of the way I am. I'm the way I am because God wants me to be this way. I can do anything, but it just takes me a little while longer. And I went to India to rescue Tony where he was a prisoner. We got him out of India, and he's now in the southeast of England in King's School in Eastleigh, down in the southeast of England. And we've done other projects in India in order to praise Tony and honour Tony for his courage. Here at Grounded, of course, Graham, the owner of Grounded, purchased this from Tony. This picture is, of course, Mangadu in India, near Chennai. And the Mangadu there is Tony's Chennai, Tony's Mangadu, the place he lived all his life. And this is the work he has done. Graham bought this picture and the picture we will show you presently from Tony. It had £800, for goodness sake. And this went into Tony's education fund. So this is Tony's Mangadu, but if you come with me now and follow me round, you're okay to shoulder this, Sean, and we'll keep walking, watch behind you. I'll bring you to Tony's Newry and Mourne. So let's go and do this. He has heard me talking about Newry and Mourne on many, many occasions, and being a man of imagination and hoping that one day he would come this way, that he would go to Newry and Mourne and see Newry and Mourne. He came and he painted this, you see it on the wall behind this lady. And this is Tony's vision of Newry and Mourne, painted in Mangadu in India when I went to rescue him from the rural countryside there. He had no documentation, he had no passport, he had no birth certificate, and therefore he could never leave India. But through good efforts of the SMA fathers in India and the Hindu man, Mr. Balu, we discovered all of the necessary documentation and managed to get Tony out of India and into education in the southeast of England. That's where he is today, doing hugely well. His colleagues, his friends in India, they're benefiting as well because we have provided things there for them. Things like the ambulance, things like the bridge in the village, things like the health program. All of that's happening, and Tony happens to be, quite coincidentally, because of the joy of this place Grounded at the very heart of the ethos, and greatly supported by Grounded, all the customers, and Graham Finnegan as well. Come on, we look somewhere else, okay? Let's go, Sean. Graham, Grounded, a certain ethos there that allows you to outreach to the world. You outreach to Tony, you spent money, 800 quid you paid for those two paintings. Wonderful paintings, lovely generosity, and that helped us get Tony out of India.
Well, that's right. You know, I think whenever we seen the paintings coming up in the auction house in Dublin, we and there was that connection with Newry there and whenever you hear about Tony and his wee story and everything, you know, you make a connection with him, and that's what the paintings do every day in the shop. You know, even now, you know, whenever you come in every day, you mightn't notice them so much, but visitors at a time come in and they remark about them and you ask you questions about, you know, the story behind the acquisition that the finish up.
It's an icon, if you like, for the generosity of ethos that is Grounded.
Well, you know, Grounded is essentially a community-based business. You know, we're good at sort of, we've created our own grounded community in it, but as such we would sort of extrapolate that feeling towards anything and you know, and try to sort of support a community, because we know that if we've got a successful community around us, well then we're going to have a successful business.
Yeah, and you're on the banks of the canal here. We're just ready to take off with a new bankside walkway all the way through from the quays through to Sands's Mill. Is that something you're welcoming?
I'm looking forward to it. You know, the canal for so long has been a sort of behind walls, behind a wall that you can't see the thing, you know, and sometimes that's a good thing with the rubbish and that. But you know, I'm sure if it's part of the public realm scheme now for Merchants Quay, it's going to get cleaned up. It's going to be a lovely promenade to walk up and down, and it's sort of, it gives life to the city centre. I think the town centre, I think that's what we need. We need people using it more. We need people walking around it. We need people enjoying it, and creating a walkway like that, I think people will enjoy it more.
Your premises is populated by young Newry people, young Newry students who are earning their money with you and paying their way through university. You're reaching into their futures and helping them.
Well, that's right. Well, you know, one of the things we take on staff. We've got staff there that have been with us since we're now 7 years old in November, and we've got staff there that have been with us for the 7 years. A good majority of them have 7 years. Usually the people who leave us are leaving because they're away off to the States or Australia or England. But those students that go to university in England, they come back to us every summer, every Christmas, every Easter, and they stay with us. So, which is exceptional in the restaurant trade. You know, generally you get a high turnover of staff in the restaurant trade. But I think that's a testament to the customers who come in the ground, because the staff enjoy it, and you know, they're a very important part of Grounded, and they make it what it is today.
The beautiful family of Grounded. Thank you very, very much indeed. Let you back to your coffee making.
Thank you very much.
What's the fancy word for coffee making?
Barista.
Barista.
Person who makes.
You're the barista. You go for the barista and enjoy the coffee. That's where you go. Go quickly. You get across now. Go. Yeah, I'm holding the hand of this beautiful woman, young woman, Jessica Boyd, because Jessica is one of my great crop of grandchildren. Jessica, it's so lovely to see you home from university.
It's lovely to see you too, Grandad.
And you're here working away. You have a regular spot in Grounded. This is where you work to raise the money to work your way through university.
Yeah, well, it's good working for a local community and working flat out.
Yeah, it is busy, isn't it?
Busy all the time, from we're open till we're closed.
So, open till we're closed, and 6 o'clock in the morning people are here?
Well, yeah, Monday to Friday it's open 7 to 12 midnight, and Saturday and Sunday it's 8 to 11 p.m.
Wow. So, and there's a whole different buzz to it at night time.
Yeah, there is. Like, it's for all ages, you know, from infants to, it's quite popular with young people as well. And then there's elderly, you know, it's suitable for all ages. But at night time there is a younger crowd.
Now you're away at university in Newcastle upon Tyne. What are you studying there?
Geography and environmental management.
Wow, yeah, that's important. What do you think of this canal for environmental management?
It could get a wee seeing to, so it could.
A seeing to as a reference to doing good. There's Donald O'Donnell, a former wonderful editor. There's things going to happen here, and that's good. So we're glad about that.
Yeah.
You've been away on a few field trips, yes?
Yes.
Where did you go?
I went to Cumbria in northwest England, and it was gorgeous there. Very scenic.
We're going to let you go back now because
I'm very busy actually.
Waiting to be fed. Come on, hold my hand, we go back. You follow us back. Okay, way back we go. Come on, let's go back. Let's go. Here we go. Thank you for talking to us. It was very good of you. Yeah, camera behind us. Yes, there we go. Come on, we go across. On we go. On we go. On we go. There we are. In you go. God bless you. Go well. Take care. Oh, that's Jesse. Poor Jessica didn't know what was going to happen there. One of my great clutch of grandchildren. I have 16 grandchildren, and I have 3 great-grandchildren. One of them still being made in the factory of her mother's womb. A very dangerous time for a child, because a child in certain situations and places can be wiped out in the womb because it's got a squint in its eye or a wrong colour of hair, or the mother's going to go skiing next September, things like that. But anyway, that's the abortion debate in the Republic at the moment. Thank you very much to everyone at Grounded there. It was good. It was good fun, and I'll be out Sean was somewhat concerned there that we might have tripped because he was making the point I was running much faster than he could with the camera. But you did very well, Sean. Thank you very much indeed. That worked. I'm now privileged to be joined by a man of Newry, a man who I have knowledge of because we came from the same street in the Meadow. Chris Ruddy, son of Eddie Ruddy, and Eddie was the flautist in that Kick Any Stone documentary that we had. Chris, you're most welcome.
Thank you very much.
I think the first thing to do is to ask you, how is Eddie?
Eddie is grand at the moment. He has gone into residential care by his own choice.
Yeah.
Given that the services that were available from the local trust were insufficient to keep him at home.
Yeah.
He's had his ups and downs, but at the moment he's flying. 87 years of age, still attempting to play the flute.
Yeah.
And the whistle.
His great one was Lonesome Boatman.
Lonesome Boatman, yeah. Outdid the Furies. Outdid the Furies.
Yeah. I'm going to ask you something now, and this is really pushing the boat out, but it's a sign of my respect for age and for maturity. Do you think it's even remotely possible that he would come in here someday with you, we would have coffee after the show, and that he would play the Lonesome Boatman sitting on that couch?
I would say 100% mentally he would do it, but physically he wouldn't be able. He had a stroke and was paralysed on the left-hand side, regained probably 80% of the movement. However, he's very slow. He sticks with the flute now because it's slower.
Why does God do that to people? Why does God take a talent, if there is a God, why does he take a talent like that of Eddie and give him a stroke that he can't play the music anymore, that he can't influence people anymore, that he can't enrich people's lives anymore, that he can't soothe the savage beast of awfulness in people's lives? It just doesn't add up.
Well, my father had a triple whammy in that he couldn't play the flute, he lost the sight in his left eye, and he was an avid reader, and his left hand was paralysed, and he used a laptop. At 85 years of age, my father was emailing across the world.
Yeah.
And he lost all three, so it was a triple whammy. But he has pulled himself back. He's slowly getting into using the
just ditch them. Sorry, I'm interrupting. Someone has given Sean, and it's distracting him. Just throw it away. Don't worry about it. Sean Rogers joining. It's nice to see you, Sean. Stay with me. Have a seat there, please. Sorry, now we're going back to your dad. No, we're talking about your dad.
We were saying yes,
who he had the triple whammy, he had all the difficulties that he experienced.
He had, but he has pulled back, and he's got a very strong commitment and very strong willpower, and through it all, his religion wouldn't have been shaken.
No,
wouldn't have been shaken. Very strong man.
That was the way in the old days. People had this great faith.
Yes.
And I see it in people. I've often Father Gerard Fern, before he died, we talked about Gerard's last word in the week before he went, said to me, "Look, if this treatment doesn't work next week, that's the end of the mystery. That's the end of it. The mystery will be over." And he right up to the last, he believed in God, obviously. But it was always a challenge to God. He was always seeking God. He never could have said he found God. It was a complex faith. But people like your dad, people like Brother Mark over in the Dominican, it's a simple faith of our ancestors, and that's a peacefulness.
It certainly is. Obviously, being younger and growing up in the sort of late 60s and the 70s, we all questioned that. We questioned that faith, and we questioned more so with the abuse scandals.
Yes.
We questioned that, and sometimes you are in a desert island looking for something or somebody, that you need to find something to make life worthwhile. Basically, we can't be put on this earth simply to die.
No.
There has to be a purpose.
Where does the spirit go? Where does Mozart's skill go?
Total.
Where does your dad's Lonesome Boatman go whenever he passes?
Sails off into the sunset.
Wow, it's just it's a mystery still.
It's a mystery.
And Gerard Fern, our friend of the Dominican, it's no longer a mystery for him.
Well, if he didn't know it in his life, we certainly aren't going to know it.
Indeed. No. You discovered something called men's sheds. They exist all over the world. They're now in Newry. Tell the people what men's sheds are.
Right. I suppose very first, just to be accurate, it was the MAT Group, which is an organisation called Men About Town. It has been going in Newry for approximately 5 years now. It was set up with the cooperation of Volunteer Now, the Senior Citizens Consortium, and also COT, cooperating and working together.
Yes.
So I retired approximately a year and a half ago, and the first 6 months of my retirement was horrendous. You know, routine, 7:30 every morning, coming home at 7 o'clock at night, speaking to people all day, and suddenly that stopped. And I felt there had to be something else. This is not what retirement is about. We had done voluntary work, myself and my wife and family, over there for the last maybe 25 years.
Yeah.
And my wife encouraged me to join the MAT group, which she was part and parcel of setting up 5 years ago. I joined the MAT group, and for me, it was a bit too sedentary. I was active. I felt I was still young enough to follow activities and that. So a number of us within the group, we decided that we will try and push this a wee bit further to the next stage.
Having said that, MAT's very important for people who are there doing it still.
It totally, and while MAT would be our umbrella organisation, the Shed is a follow-on from MAT.
Okay.
A more active follow-on.
Take us into the Shed. It's a nice image, men's sheds, where you gather the shed in the garden and you're hooking at things and tying things together and doing things and all sorts of little adventures.
Totally, and that's basically where the concept came from. It started off in Australia in approximately 1995. There was Professor Golding, and he carried out research on retired and unemployed men. And he found that health-wise, 1 in 5 were going to get a stroke, 1 in 3 were going to have a heart attack, loneliness, depression, right across the board.
That is a savage beast, the beast of loneliness, because
social
people sit counting the dots on the wallpaper. The stories of elderly people walking around supermarkets to get heat,
yes.
For goodness sake.
I would say that while you're talking about elderly people, yes, but a lot of these people are younger.
Wow.
I mean, our youngest member is 45 years of age.
Yeah.
And for, that person is experiencing possibly what an 85-year-old person whose family are gone and friends are gone. So we felt there was a wider need than just older people. We initially were 60-year-old plus. Now we've dropped out to 45, given the economic situation that we're in, and there's so much unemployment, and some people they are so active, have been so active throughout their lives, and suddenly that's pulled from them. It's a bereavement. You've lost your job. It's a bereavement, and you go through the same grief as a person, maybe not the same grief to degrees, but certainly mentally and physically. Yeah. The main shed, as you rightly say, it came from tottering down to the shed, fixing a pan, we putting a battery in a radio. This chap, Professor Golding in Australia, he felt that this should be organised. So in 1996, the first men's shed was officially opened in Australia. Yes. There are now 1,000 of them, up on 1,000 of them in Australia. In Ireland was the first country in the Northern Hemisphere to ever have a men's shed. And at the moment in Ireland in the island of Ireland, we have 200 men's sheds. Now, where we are slightly different to some of the other ones, we have visited a number, and they do appear to be a bit employment orientated in that there was a number of sheds we went into. There were lathes, wood turners, and people were coming in the morning and doing their work. And my initial reaction was,
that's not what sheds are about.
That's work.
Yeah.
That's work.
Yeah.
Right. I did my 42 years working. I'm not going to spend my retirement working. So we have taken a more emotional stroke physical well-being subject for our shed.
Yes. So what sort of stuff do you do?
Well, at the moment we are hopefully trying to get the members of the shed to produce a DVD video of what the shed's all about in Uri. Now this is totally in Uri. We have photography lessons. On a Monday morning we do physical activity. At the moment our group joins with the Reach group, and we walk through Kilbrony Park, actually from the bottom car park up to the big stone, which beats me, no chance whatsoever. On a Tuesday, this is a social morning, and this came from MAT, the original group, where 15, 16 people come in, cup of coffee, biscuit, newspapers, radio, television.
And where do you meet? Where does it happen?
It happens, we just got a new premises in the Wynn, Unit 3 in the Wynn.
It's the most unshed-like image that I can imagine. You really need a better place than that.
It's a state of mind. The shed's a state of mind as well as a physical entity. Okay, so yes, it's not particularly appropriate for. It's not appropriate even for our needs because it's quite small.
Yeah.
Our membership is growing.
Yeah.
But we thought initially it will keep us going for maybe a year.
It will.
It won't now because we have so many people coming and get a vast array.
May we come with our camera and include you in our series of Out and About in Newry?
Absolutely. We hope to be an integral part of Newry.
Well, look, so let us, having opened the door to you today, the door to your shed, we will. Sean, won't we accept the invitation to come into their shed and film? We'll
Good
be
man,
doing
Sean.
that.
Good man.
I want to thank you for coming in today.
It's a pleasure, Rowan.
Tell people before you go, how do they contact you?
They contact us through our email address is nm, as for Newry
November Mike.
Yep, Newry and Mourne, dot mensshed.gmail.com.
Okay, men's shed.
nm dot mensshed@gmail.com.
There's no apostrophes or anything.
Straight
Nothing like that.
lowercase
Okay.
the whole way through. No spaces.
Okay, sit where you are till I tell the people what's going to come next.
Thank you very much,
Thank
Rowan.
you for joining me.
Pleasure.
You're a
Thank
good
you very
man.
much. Thank
Sean,
you.
come to me and I'll talk to you. Coming very, very shortly on the programme, my friends, the paranormal in Newry. People with experiences that are at best interesting and at worst frightening. And it affects young people in particular. We'll be hearing about that. And then the education spokesman of the SDLP talking to us about the Nick Ross notion that the absence of integrated education in Northern Ireland is a major problem in our troubles. Nick's view was that get the children together, educate them together, and all will be fine. And that the business of having Catholic schools and state schools are at the heart of our dilemma. We don't know if that's right or wrong, but the man who's coming to join me, Sean Rogers, Sean has a strong view on it, and we'll be hearing more about that. But now let's have some music, Sean. Thank you.
It's fine, yep, no problem.
It works well. Is that me, Sean? Am I back, Sean? Yeah. Are the people seeing me, Sean? Are they seeing me in Mongolia? Yeah. Are they seeing me in Mangadu? Yeah. Are they seeing me in Monaster worldwide? My God. It's a long way from the typewriter, dear friends. I use a keyboard now the way I used to use a typewriter. And the one thing I can tell you is that keyboards are very, very resilient and practically indestructible, because when I get at them, it causes them a bit of a problem. Right, I've Marty Burton with me at the moment, a man of Newry, a man I had the great privilege of teaching a few years back in the Newry Institute in our BTEC media course. You've grown big since those days, and you've grown wise since those days. You were wise then, a good student, but great maturity has come to you. And part of why Marty's here at the moment is he has interests in Newry, in the cultural area of Newry. He has interests in the musical end of Newry. All of that kind of thing is happening on an ongoing basis. But there's a new society and a new interest in existence in Newry that takes a special place in Marty's catalogue of importances. I would call it the paranormal. Marty wouldn't. It's things that are extraordinary. UFOs are involved in there and other. Listen, I'm waffling. Tell us what it's about, would you, Marty, please?
Well, we have run. Thank you for that. That was very kind. We have a monthly group meeting in Newry called New Paradigm.
Yes.
Where we come together. We bring people from. We have had people coming from right across Northern Ireland to the group, to the meetings and that. And
what is New Paradigm?
It's a new way of thinking.
What does that mean in real terms?
It's being outside the box.
Thinking outside the box.
But being outside the box. I thought about
being outside rather than thinking outside it. How do you? I know how you think outside.
It's all about being.
How do you get outside the box?
I think it's a new way of living, isn't it? It's just living. Yeah, it's all about how we view reality and how we perceive the greater reality, as I would call it.
Okay, and what is the greater reality, would you say?
Well, it's seeing through maybe what we've been sort of conditioned to see what is real.
Yeah.
And seeing beyond that. So if you have what you would describe as maybe an experience that may be described as paranormal or unexplained, Well, I like to see it more as something that maybe present science maybe just doesn't understand. It's only beginning to understand.
Well, in real terms, it's normal. It's not paranormal.
It's normal, yeah, in real terms.
We just haven't got our heads around it yet.
We haven't got our heads around it, and maybe through maybe certain interest groups maybe don't want us getting our head around it. Maybe want to keep us...
Now, we could be talking anything here, from the CIA to the Pope. Who are we talking about?
I think we're talking beyond that. I think it maybe goes that deep, where it's without sounding like a conspiracy nut or someone that is. I think it goes beyond that. This knowledge has been known for a very long time, but it's been kept. It's been kept at a certain level of need to know. Yeah. Whereas people are down here. We're ignorant. We're fearful. We're trapped in that sort of reality. And
you see, I have a philosophy, and it's probably as mad as I am. But when I look within my living memory, easy living memory, within that, when I first got a mobile phone, I had to take my car, leave it in a garage for a day. They worked on it and put a bucket into the car and put into the bucket something the size of a brick. But now, I lift this mobile phone, put it against this mobile phone, and all the information from this transfers into this. Bing! It all happens. And now if I look at the new phone, I look at it and I control it with my eyes. My theory is that we've been taken over somewhere along the line by aliens. And but some creatures have invaded and taken over with an intelligence that's way, way beyond anything that we know, have, or can ever experience. And that we are slaves to that intelligence. I don't know, anything's possible because it's so...
Well, I think that if you were to look at it maybe from that angle, I think you could argue that maybe that intelligence has been with us since time began. Maybe we're too ignorant to understand, or maybe, I think in the past, I think with the internet now, it gives us a great amount of freedom, and maybe these forces didn't maybe comprehend how the information that people can pick up over the internet, whereas in the past, to such knowledge, people needed to be initiated.
Yeah. Peter Makem, the poet in Uri, is saying something very similar. Well, what he's saying is the problems we face, the imponderables, the problems of great severity for us today are the same as they were 2,000 years ago in the time of Christ. We haven't solved anything really, and we need to go back and look at it in a different... This is kind of what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at a lot of things, Rowan, a lot of things today and still are, they're rooted in fear, and I think fear is a very powerful sort of energy, and that gives off. And I think when you understand maybe the root of fear, where fear comes from, then I know myself, before I went east, I was in Korea last year, and I done temple stays where I went to. A lot of this has to do with sort of like, it's hard to sort of connect maybe the paranormal with meditation, but it is interconnected, so it is. But I met Buddhists, I met shamanistic sort of monks and that, and kind of like understood like what they were saying about fear in the West. We're preoccupied and we give off certain energies, and a lot of it would be the likes of fear.
Black breeds black.
Well, that's it. If you think negative, you're going to invite that negativity into your life.
You have a special film tonight.
We have, yes.
Tell the people about that.
Well, we have a screening tonight at Elysium Wellness upstairs. This is where we meet once a month. We're showing the Ceres documentary, which is the top researchers, government, politicians across the world have brought out. It's part of the Disclosure Project that we have been visited perhaps for a very long time. There's overwhelming evidence to suggest that these UFOs are real. The technology is real. There's technology, potentially the documentary exposes that this technology will change a new era in humanity. Technology, free energy, basically.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to see that tonight in Elysium.
In Elysium, the Ceres documentary, and it's a self-funded movie as well. Yeah. And we kick off at 7:30, and then we're going to have a chat afterwards.
Okay, Elysium 7:30 in Uri tonight, and a chat afterwards.
Yes, we're going to have a discussion afterwards about
Marty, don't go away for a moment or two. Stay with me. We say farewell to that area of your concerns. Just coming shortly, a singer of our place, our neighbour's child, Val Morgan. And Val, you'd be interested to hear, I've just got news that Slim Whitman has died at the age of 90. Country singer Slim, a high-pitched yodeler who sold millions. I remember you. That it? Yeah, that's him. Slim Whitman, dead and gone. He's gone. Well, good luck. Bye-bye. That's him gone. Coming shortly, Val Morgan with his musicality, followed then by, we have Sean Rogers with us, talking matters of education and health. Sean, let's have some, not Sean Rogers, but my Sean Byrne out in Uri, the man of the TARDIS bridge deck. Take us away with music. Bob Marley and the Wailers. A friend of mine once went out to his island home and saw a boat, a dugout canoe with BMW on it, and he said, gosh, I didn't know that they had BMW engineering out here in this paradise out of the way place. But it wasn't BMW, it wasn't BMW, the engine people. It was Bob Marley and the Wailers. So thank you very much indeed to Bob Marley. And thanks to Marty Murtagh. And his event tonight is in Elysium, down next to Grounded on the quay. A man I've known a very, very long time comes to us now. Val Morgan, Restrever man living in Uri now. Great musician, a great humanitarian, who with the late great Jim Gorman would have been a regular visitor to the hospice up in on Courtney Hill in Uri. And you brought great music and great fun and great storytelling to the people there, Val. Yourself and Jim.
Yes, indeed. We were able to take them away from their suffering and their worries for maybe an hour and a half.
Through music.
On a Wednesday, yes.
Yeah. Music, the soothing balm for troubled mind and bodies up there.
Gladness.
Yeah. It's a pity. We miss Jim a lot, don't we?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, he was a good man.
He was a great man.
Yeah.
A great human
That's
being.
Jim Gorman, yes. Human being first of all, artist and musician after that. And you're iconically remembered up at the hospice, and well done. And I congratulate you for that. When did your interest in music begin, and how did it come about, Val?
Well, whenever we always had music in the house. My mother was a good singer, and my father, in his youth, played music, played an accordion, and played a thing called a Jew's harp.
Oh yeah.
And
I ask you that: is it a Jew's harp or a Jaws harp?
Well,
I've heard this intellectual debate on more than one occasion.
Well, I'm not going to get involved in the.
It seems to make more sense if it were a Jaws harp.
Yes,
because that's what you're playing.
Your teeth, actually.
Yeah.
But it was called a Jew's harp.
Jew's
it probably
harp,
still is. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he could play that, and he could play a bit of the violin as well. Yeah. So, and then I like to sing at school, of course, feshes and all that. So.
I see you have the big stone in Carlingford Lock photograph on your guitar, which leads me to ask you if the environment of Carlingford Lock and the mountains of Mourne and the mountains of Slieve Foy across the way, if they had an influence on you.
Musically, you mean?
Musically, yes.
Oh, well, I mean, it's difficult to answer that. Probably, the scenery's fabulous, as you know.
Yeah.
And Restrever is a lovely place. Yeah. So maybe subconsciously
it's about the transmigration of the beauty of the scenery and the feel of the air into the musicality that comes out at the end of your fingertips.
That's probably right.
Yeah, something like that.
That's probably right.
Like that. Are you playing as much music now as you did?
Oh no,
not as much. You're taking it easy.
Well, I would write stuff, songs and things like that. And I would sing in homes and places like that. Yes.
Wonderful. What are you going to play for us today?
Well, I have a couple of songs. One of them is called Restrever.
Wow. One you wrote yourself?
Yes. I wrote this one some time ago. It's about the village and its people, and it refers to people like T.K. Whitaker.
Ah, yes. A very famous man.
Yeah, famous man.
He became the
governor of the
Bank
of Ireland.
I remember, I have to tell you this, I have to tell the people this, and it's a great bit of advice. I knew T.K. Whitaker through my work in RTE. And once upon a time, 30 years ago, when I had an insufferable bank overdraft with the Lisburn Road branch of the Bank of Ireland, and I wasn't sure how I was going to pay it off, And I wrote to TK, I said, look, I'm an Uri man, I'm an honest man, I'm going to pay this off. Would you tell that fella to get off me back? And he did. I got his name and his address out of the Irish Who's Who.
Yes.
So TK sent a letter and all that. So the debt was paid over a period of time.
Well, that's
and,
good.
And
He's
TK
back in Rostrevor
he was
now,
instrumental in doing that.
Oh.
And if he's tuned in this morning, I'd like to thank you, sir. Namaste. Thank you, sir. You did so much good for me.
Yes.
Right, Rostrevor, take it away, my brother.
Yes, some of the names in this, Pat Murphy, John Murphy, who's buried
yes,
in
the giant.
8 foot 1 inch giant, and Tom Dunn, who was a hedge schoolmaster back in the 17s.
Was he anything to the Duns that went on to found the Empire of
No,
Riga?
they're all from...
They're from Rostrevor.
Yes,
now.
yes, but this guy was way back in 1798, he was a teacher of the classics to the poor people who weren't allowed an education at the time. So I've mentioned him in the song, and there are places like, St. Brona's Well. And all
St. Brona's Well. I'm going to be buried in Rostrevor. Got my grave selected.
Lovely.
Onto the hill.
Not in a better place.
Feet to the forest. Head to the ocean. But not just yet. Turning a wee bit more towards the camera now. That's great. Now you got it.
Awkward.
Are we ready there?
Okay, now.
There we are.
Rostrevor, Rostrevor, although I'm far away, I think about you always. You're with me night and day. I miss you, old Kilbroney, your woods and valleys grand. The whole world knows your beauty, O Queen of Ireland. I had to leave your ancient shore to find my way in life. I got a job in old New York and found myself a wife. I know someday she'll come with me back to that little town, the jewel of old Ireland, the star of County Down. I see the country roads I walked, I hear the chapel bell. In dreams I see the Celtic cross and Brona's healing well. My parents' lonely tombstone, my heart it feels the pain to know that I will never see their loving smiles again. Names like Thomas Dunn and Ross, we know about their fame, and mighty giant Murphy, who could forget his name? Remember T.K. Whittaker, the name on Ireland's pound. They all came from Rostrevor in the good old County Down. Rostrevor, Rostrevor, although you're far away, I think about you always. You're with me night and day. I miss you, old Kilbroney, your woods and valleys grand. The whole world knows your beauty, O Queen of Ireland.
I've just got, you will have noticed, Val, that was the most wonderful song that you wrote yourself and beautifully delivered. I thank you for it enormously. You will have noticed here, I've just had the most wonderful and welcome tsunami of people coming into us. And I'll ask my head of programs here, may we run over this morning, sir? Is that a possibility? Keep going. He's letting us go over.
Oh,
so
lovely.
I crave all your patience and stay with us, and you have one more song for me.
I have indeed, Rowan. This one's from one of the great, if not the greatest, writer of Irish ballads, Thomas Moore.
Wow.
The writer of such great ballads as The Meeting of the Waters.
There is not in this wide world a valley so sweet.
That's right, and The Harp That Once Through Tara's Halls.
Yeah.
And of course, this one that I'm going to sing to you now, Thomas was married to a very beautiful girl, and earlier in their marriage she contracted a skin disease.
Did he keep her?
He did actually.
She let her stay.
She was paranoid and thought that he couldn't possibly love her the same with this disfiguration.
But no disfiguration of the spirit coming from inside.
Well,
that's where true beauty lies.
Absolutely, this is what the point he was making when he wrote the song, and to reassure her that she was just as loving to him in her disfigurement as she was in her beauty.
You could apply that to growing older. You know, when
absolutely, yeah.
The beauty of youth turns
skin
into
deep.
the gentleness of age. I know this thing, I'm getting there. Okay, take it away.
Aren't we all? I was going to do The Harp That Once, but I maybe change that.
You run it. We're with you.
Trying to get the head of this, Ron, and I.
You're coasting into it, baby. It's going well.
That's right. I've skipped that one, Ron, if you don't mind, and sing another one from the Northwest.
It's in your hands, baby.
Now that you know about Thomas Moore and his wife, anyway.
Well, that's for another day.
Yeah. I know a wee spot, a place of great fame. It lies to the north, I'll tell you its name. It's my own native birthplace, and it lies on great soil, and they call it Lovely Derry, on the banks of the Foyle. I courted a wee girl, her age was 19, the fairest young colleen that I'd ever seen. She had skin like a lily, and her hair bound in coil, and she came from Lovely Derry, on the banks of the Foyle. I remember when we parted to cross o'er the sea, to try and make a fortune for Mary and me. I cried like a baby and my tears wet the soil, far away from lovely Derry, on the banks of the Foyle. Now when I make my fortune, back home I will go, to the land of my birth, and that Colleen I know. I will build her a mansion, and no more will I toil, far away from lovely Derry, on the banks of the Foyle.
Bravo, well done, well done, well done. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for coming in. God bless you. If you would kindly slip out there, and while I'm talking to the people, Donal O'Hanlon will slip in, and we will come to you now, Donal, please. Donal has news for me. We'll get rid of your microphone there. News for me about an event in the Art Centre in Newry coming up, and it's called the Wall-to-Wall Art Exhibition. Donal, let's have you on the seat, please. Thank you. This is your mic. There you are. Thank you. In you come, sir. We'll plug you in.
Here to talk today too.
Pardon?
Jacqueline's with me.
Oh, that's a surprise. How good. You're very welcome, Jacqueline. Can we sort Jacqueline out with a microphone there? Maybe you can help us, yeah? You're an unexpected surprise, but a welcome surprise. Thank you so much indeed. Yeah, yeah. We'll get you sorted. This is a microphone here. We'll have one for you now. So listen, Donal, what do we, where are we, please, Sean, would you stay on the camera, please? Thank you. That's good. We're now as I say, a tsunami of wonderment coming into the place. It's a TARDIS of talent.
Confessions used to be in the old days.
Confessions used to be like that. It's a long time ago now since it was that way.
Since Declan McChesney was a confession too.
Declan McChesney hears confessions, for goodness sake. He's such a wonderfully perfect person. He's ideally suited to it. So listen, let you know, just to straighten things out for you, dear friends, what we've got before the end of the programme, and we're extending today, we've got the word of Anya Murdoch back from America, book writer, a returned Yank, so to speak, but a native of Burren in County Down, outside Warren Point. But now immediately we'll go straight into Donal O'Hanlon. And Helen, you're here from the Arts Centre. Jackie, you're here from the Arts Centre down the way. Donal, what is this?
The Sean Hollywood Arts Centre.
Well, yes, but I mean, it goes without saying. Yeah. What is happening? What is this wall-to-wall art thing that's happening?
Well, as you know, I'm a bit of a Renaissance man,
yes,
Rowan, but I'm slightly out of my expertise here in the art world. However, I have married into an excellent artist. My wife, Kate, her sister is married to a Northumbrian artist called Martin Matthews. Martin has had a bit of an Aboriginal trail around Scotland, England, and over here in Ireland, and he's got a thing about walls.
Yeah.
So he's been walking these great areas and taking pictures as he goes along, and he's now come up with an exhibition based on the walls that he's seen along the way.
Wow.
So
what sort of stuff's in it? Give us an idea of the
well,
concept.
colour-wise, I can compare it very much to Van Gogh, but he has both ears, but it's those very bright, contrasting colours, very thick paint work. It's not exactly shucks, but it's rivers and rivulets and walls, and the whole background that we have, particularly in the Mourns. He's done the Mourne walls, he's done Hadrian's wall, he's been up to Lindisfarne, and they're very, very vibrant, and it's almost multimedia without the technology, because as well as that, he's produced music to go with this that he's been inspired to write. He's an excellent musician. He's one of the top traditional musicians over in that part of the world. So it's a multimedia package without the geek.
Jackie, are we ready for this in the Sean Hollywood Arts Centre?
Oh, I think we are. We're actually very pleased because it's actually speaking to Kate, who's Donal's wife, introduced us to the work of Martin, and we looked at it on the website and we're very pleased. And it sort of, grew from just having an exhibition to it's actually an installation for the whole month now.
And is there a lot of preparation for it?
Oh yes, indeed, yes, and a lot of interaction with Donal and Kate, of course.
Well, you've no better lady to be doing that with. They'll bring much to it.
And it's great to have something that's related to the area and the landscape. and we're hosting it for a whole month, and
Excellent.
it is, you know, the first of his solo tour. So we're really delighted to be hosting it this year.
Fantastic. I wish you well with it. When is it happening?
It's happening from the 1st of July to the 28th of July.
Wow. And how do people just come along and go in, or do you need tickets or stuff like that?
No, just come along.
Come
we're
along.
open all summer. We
Yeah.
don't close, Rowan.
Happy
as you
place.
know. We're open
Happy
every
place.
day, so
It's a good
you're very
place.
welcome. And
I'll
of
be
course,
there.
it's free of charge.
Now, I think we've got a great history of walking. There's the wee binions and so on.
Yes.
I think people who've done the walks will come along and be inspired as something that they've walked through, and yet they haven't interpreted it in an artistic way or a musical
And this
way,
is it.
and it should ring a few bells with them as well. So
Okay, guys, thank you for coming in. Sean, let's have some music. Thank you. I don't know. I'm live now. They're going mad in here. Declan McChesney came over. He said, "Is it today or tomorrow? When do you want me?" I said, "I want to get tomorrow. I want it more." Sean, I apologise to you. We're keeping you back. We have a tsunami of goodness and talent coming into the place today. But we have so much to talk about, and we've got an extension from the controller of programmes, which is good. Anya Murdoch, how are you from Burren?
I'm great, thanks.
You're a
Rowan.
sort of returned Yank. How long have you been in America, down in Dallas?
7 years in Austin.
Wow, in Austin, Texas. What is it about the Texans that their flag has got to be bigger? The Texas flag has got to be bigger than the Stars and Stripes, and always flies at the top of the flagpole, above the Stars and Stripes.
Well, I guess it's one of the biggest states, and everything's bigger in Texas.
Everything's bigger in Texas. Well, they didn't know they were living under the Burren. Murdoch arrived with them, and you were there.
Exactly.
So what are you doing there?
I'm an elementary music teacher.
Wow.
In one of the elementary schools, and in my spare time, I've been writing a kids' book.
Yeah.
I married a Texan, so that's how I.
You
ended
followed
up.
your heart. That's it. Ah, yeah. Beezy Bobbity goes to New York. The
Yeah.
children's book. What was the inspiration for writing a children's book?
Well, I've been teaching children for such a long time, and I wanted to introduce kids to travel.
Yeah.
And I thought I'd start with New York. It's a city everybody is familiar with the name, whether
Yeah.
they've been there or not.
Of course.
And I wanted to make it into a series. I'm actually currently working on my second one. And I wanted to introduce kids to the main sites of cities, but also make music.
Cities all across America or
all
worldwide?
across the world.
Wow.
We're going to go worldwide.
Why not? Will you take them to? Will you introduce the Americans in Austin to the city of Newry? Is that a possibility?
Of course, yes.
Because you've got hobgoblins and fairies and all kinds of everything there.
Yeah, and I intend to take Beezy to Ireland, and we'll maybe stop off in Newry.
Yeah.
It's also to make music more cool for kids. I'm a music teacher.
Yes.
So I have her playing guitar, and her brother
Oh, there
plays
she's playing
saxophone.
guitar, yeah.
Mhm.
I'll read them a bit of it, may I?
Okay.
Are you ready for a bit of this here? You all set? It was a beautiful day in Chedley Bay, and Beezy Bobbity was anxiously preparing for her trip. Her great adventure was about to begin. She loved to go on adventures in her hot air balloon. She was very kind to everyone. Beezy had beautiful curly hair, a beaming smile, and she loved to wear colourful clothes. Her best friend Bess was going out on the adventure as well. Bess was a quiet, thoughtful girl, and she loved to play the drums. The trio was going to support Beezy's cousin Misty in a singing competition. "Hi, Bess. Do you have everything you need for our trip to New York?" shouted Beezy excitedly. "Yes, Wheel Bess. I've got my drumsticks and my backpack." Drumsticks, it's all music, isn't it?
It is.
What's the technique in writing this sort of stuff? Do you take yourself off into a garret, settle yourself down, and cut yourself off from the family for days on end? And how long does it take you to do
Yeah,
it?
well, it's been a long process. It's taken about 1.5 years to get to this point. I wrote the story and kept redrafting, and then I approached my friend who was teaching art with me for 2 years, and she did all the illustrations.
Wow.
It took her a long time to get through the illustrations because she wanted them to be just right. So it took her a few weeks to do
The
each one.
illustrations are lovely, they are indeed. They're very, very good. There's no two ways about it. And what do your friends at home think? You left Ireland not an author, you come back to Ireland an author.
They think it's great. They keep saying that they could see it being animated.
Yeah, what a good idea.
It'll be the Peppa Pig of Newry.
Pig of Newry. Where do people get it? Because that's the next question. Can they get it?
You can buy it on Amazon.
Yeah.
It's for sale on Amazon in the US and the UK and Europe, and also Barnes & Noble, which is a US base.
Okay, but you have a website.
I have a website.
BZ Bobbity.
And it will take you through to Amazon.
Okay.
And also it'll be selling in Waterstones
in
the next few weeks.
Down there with John, that's good.
Yep.
So it's bzbobbity.com, beazedybobbity.com. That's it. Thank you. Go well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming in. God bless you.
Thank
Give
you.
us back our microphone and then you're gone. Sean, let's have some music. Hi, how are you? I'm joined on the sofa now that peace has returned to the mountains and valleys and the oceans of our land. We had so many good people, all keen and determined to be on the programme, and we were there. A tsunami of talent, I say, and they were so very, very welcome. Joined by Colleen Dowdall now of the Newry Chamber of Commerce and Trade. Isn't that the correct title, is it? Or
it is indeed,
it
yeah.
is.
Newry Chamber
Once upon a time it
of
was the
Trade.
Newry Chamber of Commerce. Now it's the Chamber of Commerce and Trade.
The joint forces to be
joint
even stronger
forces,
again.
Even stronger.
Yeah,
That's a good.
absolutely.
That's a good
Yeah.
motto for the experience.
Yeah.
You've had the Business Awards in Newry. What's the story there? What's happening?
We've just launched, actually, Rowan, on Tuesday
Yes.
in Bellini's, and we've 19 award categories to offer. So just a great range,
Of stuff.
something for everybody, you know, something for every business. And
What must a business do to impress you enough to be given an award?
well, we actually appoint an independent judging company, obviously, because wouldn't be up to me to
Wow,
judge
indeed,
the companies,
indeed.
obviously. So there's 19 categories. We have brochures, obviously, for the event. And there's something there for everybody. There's the Best New Business Award, there's the Best Green Business Award,
Wow.
there's the Best Place to Eat, the Best Pub Award, Best Young Entrepreneur. So there's just a range of different...
It's an exciting time because awards, best, words like that, we're shooting for the stars, really. Newry seems optimistic.
Yes, absolutely. Newry is a fantastic city, and this is actually a greater Newry area project. So we bring in, you know, the outside, you know, the Warrenpoint, Rathfriland, Hilltown, Kilkeel, you know, even as far as some companies in Dundalk would enter these awards. You know, we had over 350 entries in 2010, and I would say we're going to have even more this year. Businesses have been looking for this for quite a while now. It's a great achievement for a company and employees at a time now that things are so hard for businesses, you know, so it's great.
But nobody, you know, we may be lying in the gutter, but we're looking up at the stars, aren't we?
Yes, most definitely. You know, the businesses in Newry are absolutely phenomenal. They're fantastic. They keep going, and you know, only yesterday we were out there at the official opening of the MGM building out in Carnbean, which is exceptional facilities. You know,
what's going to be there? Tell us about those facilities.
Well, that is MGM Interior Build, you know, the company, that's Brian McConville's company, and a member of the Chamber as well. And they had their official opening out there in Carnbean, so that's the engineering company out there. So it's a great.
So they're obviously optimistic about the building trade, that things are going to go places. And we're even in our area, we're sending out. We're pre-building hotels and sending them to the north of Scotland.
Yeah, that's Eamon's company in Warrenpoint. That's fantastic again. Another great friend of the Chamber, and that's the thing. The Chamber has such great connections and links, and it's a look. You know, Declan was in there a few minutes ago. It's all about businesses getting together and working with each other. You know, to in the area. It's such a strong community, business community here, and it's absolutely. I have to say, since I've come on board now, you know, for Orla while she's off, it's really eye opener, and it's great. It's
lots of nice painting going on in the town as well.
Oh yeah, the city centre now, there's really taken a turn now. The revitalisation of the city centre, it's brilliant. It's great to see it. Yeah,
you're enjoying it.
Absolutely, I have to say it really is inspiring.
Well, you're bringing a smile to the place, and it's good to see you there in Scotland.
Oh no, it's great now, and hopefully now the Business Awards are actually on the 12th of September, Thursday, and there's 12th of September in the Canal Court, and we hope to have a full house. Well, these awards are now open now for businesses to enter. As I say, there's 19 award categories. The brochure is available. We've also got a website, www.newrybusinessawards.com.
www.newrybusinessawards.com. That's the one to contact if you want to contact it to get the information on the Business Awards and the brochure. Colleen will send the brochure out to you.
Yes, absolutely.
And everything will then start to fall into place for you. And I wish all the businesses out there the very best of success in going for the awards, Colleen.
It's great.
And very pleased that you're doing the job you're doing, and I wish you well.
Thank you very much. That's lovely.
Congratulations.
Thank you for having me on this morning.
No, listen, you'll come back again, won't you?
Oh, absolutely.
You
definitely.
take care.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Sean, we'll have some music now, and then we move straight into the education spokesman of the Social Democratic and Labour Party, a man who might possibly be the next leader. He certainly deserves to be. He's impressive enough to be. Mr. Sean Rogers, and we'll be talking to Sean later after the music show. Okay, Sean, thank you very much indeed for that. Another Sean joins me now on the sofa. It's Sean Rogers, the education spokesman of the Social Democratic and Labour Party. And Sean came to my attention recently because he was taking issue what an old colleague of mine, Nick Ross, was saying about education in Northern Ireland. Nick was making the point that he felt integrated education was the way forward, and that segregated education was a contributing factor to the troubles in Northern Ireland. Is that not a fairly obvious thing for him to say? Because if youngsters are together, they grow into each other, they grow to know each other, and their lives become entwined more readily and more easily, Sean.
I think, good morning, Rowan. I think it's very important that we celebrate what we have in education, first of all. And as somebody who spent 30 years in education, and as a teacher and as a school principal, but also as a parent and somebody who went through the education system, I see benefit in faith-based education in Catholic schools. Equally, I see benefit in integrated education in controlled schools, in Irish medium schools and so on. But I think it's important that parents have choice. You know, if I think particularly of Catholic education, to me there's really two aspects to it. There's really the faith development and helping to live with your faith. And before we came on camera there, you were talking very much about living your faith.
Yes.
In that, and helping people out there. Yes. You know, whether it's doing a bag pack for Newry Hospice or doing collecting money to go abroad to help out in Romania and so on. Like my own old school, St. Louis, had gone in the past to Romania and had gone to Rwanda. And you know, to me, that's very important in our Catholic schools, living that faith and helping our young people to live that faith.
So I think maybe what we're saying is that there's an innate excellence in developing the good that is the faith-based school, but equally you're recognizing an innate excellence in a mingling of cultures so that people grow to know each other better. It's not one or the other.
No, absolutely. And the Catholic sector has been very forward thinking in that, in working in shared education. You know, I can remember back many years ago, my first experience of shared education was when a friend of mine who worked in Limavady, we brought the two groups together from either end of the province to work. But that then developed on to me organising soccer matches with the Kilkeel High School and so on. That then has developed on to, they have a celebration next week of shared education where children are together. So I think we have to, yes, integrated education is very good, but we have to work at the level people are at and bring people along with us. Absolutely, shared education. You know, as Barack Obama said on Monday about the wall across that, there's a gate in that wall, and to me that is shared education. We're opening that gate and opening that gate wider and wider until we don't need the wall.
Yeah, and that's share. You see, sharing is a good word with you.
Yeah.
As is individuality a good word with you.
Yeah.
So there's a symbiotic thing here, a growing of the two together.
Yeah.
Now I think it's too easy to say, and I don't know what Nick was at. You read him in some detail, and you can enlighten me. But the idea of, it's too obvious to say that integrated education will allow the community to grow together. That's obvious, it will.
Yes.
But maybe we don't need that. Maybe the separateness is good, each growing strong, and from a base of strength, there is a coming together in another arena.
I wouldn't like to say that we don't need integrated education. You know, I would have good working relationships, particularly with Shimna in Newcastle, a very good integrated school. And they're reaching out the hand as well. They have a sharing languages project where their teacher goes out into the primary schools. And where you have children, I experienced in Bourne-Ray a few weeks ago, where we had children from Bourne-Ray School and Maintain School and children from the control school together, doing their language together, learning Spanish together. And not alone had we two communities there. sometimes we think shared education is just about Catholic and Protestant, but we had people from different ethnic backgrounds as well there, you know, and different social classes. So, you know, there's all that. So that great work that the integrated schools are doing has to be acknowledged and celebrated. But I think as well in our Catholic schools and in our controlled schools, because I have many good friends who teach in the controlled sector as well, you know, we are chipping away, we're working away at bringing our young people together. And if our young people have education experiences together, they socialise together and so on. It's not, we want to get away from
what I meant. It's not needed. I think it's possibly, because of the way our community has gone post Good Friday agreement, I think possibly the need is less now, dare I suggest, because there is a natural growing together of the two communities in many areas that there wasn't 20 years ago.
Absolutely, but I think we still need something to aim for there. We need still to keep the momentum going and keep developing that. And you know, the ideas from the Northern Ireland Executive about advancing shared education and so on are very good. And you know, it gives people a bit of an impetus to keep pushing on. They're talking about in terms of future funding that there will be a shared education premium. And you know, money is so tight in schools to have some money coming in for shared education is good, because all our schools, the schools I know, are doing it.
Yeah. I'm taking you to another area now, an area of health and men's health, because it was on the discovery of your PSA, your prostate-specific antigen blood test being high, that led you to the knowledge you had prostate cancer, and that brought you away from teaching. You needed to concentrate on your health. Things have gone well for you. I had prostate cancer as well, gone well for me. And the reason it's gone well is I think we caught it early.
Absolutely. I suppose first and foremost I have to thank my wife for it, because once I sort of hit 50 and unfortunately her dad died from prostate cancer, she kept sort of encouraged me, let's say, to get the bloods done and so on. And that's why I've told my story, because it's very, very important that, you know, it's a simple blood test. Men go and get that, because prostate cancer can become a killer, a main killer as well.
And a silent killer.
And a silent killer.
When I had I would check my health. I would check my bloods on a regular basis to make sure for cholesterol and things like that. But when I had it done, I had no symptoms that were driving me towards it. And the doctor was saying, oh no, the specialist said you probably don't need anything more because it's just your age. I said, no, I want a biopsy. Let's have it now.
Yeah.
And I had to insist on the biopsy. Just as some doctors are saying to people, no, you don't need a PSA blood test. You don't need it. So my suggestion to people who are told that is look them in the eye and say, get it done, and get it done now.
And get it done. Like you, Ronan, I had no symptoms either.
Yeah.
You know, people say you must have symptoms. I had no symptoms either. But the message must go out there. It's simple. Get it done, and it can give you a whole new lease of life.
Absolutely.
You know, to me, many things helped me through my prostate cancer, my treatment, my surgery and my treatment. I would say, obviously, a good health service. Yeah. Absolutely. Sometimes there's a lot of criticism of our health service, but a very good health service. Really good friends and family. You know, that type of support. You did touch it. You did touch on that when you said that I give up my teaching, and that was like losing my right arm, because, as you know,
I saw you operate down in St. Louis.
I was fulfilled in my teaching and in my leadership role and whatever else. I found that very difficult. I have to say the other thing that really helped me to get it through was prayer, and people helped me. You know, people like the Benedictines in Restrever, you know, that I used to go up and I would go to Mass. I tried to go at least once a week up there. And you know, sometimes in Father Mark's homily or in a reading, I would get some wee thing that sort of just would latch on to, and it really helped me. And probably the other thing, and it's just related to Val earlier on too, getting closer, getting back to nature and that type of thing as well. You know, when you're having had a very busy life and school and people with you, it was quite lonely at home, you know, during those recovery days. And I used to go for a walk on Cranfield and try and sort of synchronize my breathing with the ebb and flow of the tide, and that link back to nature and so on. That helped me. And then the fourth thing, and I got a great education here this morning, was the man who spoke about the paranormal. He made one thing, and that was cut negativity out of your life. And I have That's what I do. Wow. I'm positive about things, and my health has absolutely. Things are very positive.
Don't sweat the small stuff.
No.
Never do that. You know, at its worst moment, just to regress into temporary negativity. At its worst moment, how black was it for you?
It was very black. At one stage, I was lying in a bed in Craigavon, and Rosemary was sitting on the side of the bed, and a consultant come in, and his face was white as that sheet in front of him, and he's saying, Sean, if I don't get this sorted, I'm less than 2 years. So the thing that really focused, I have a lovely family, a great family, 5 great children and a supportive wife, and I could see this slipping away from me.
Oh
that was a bad moment, and I suppose when I am on the air, I just want to give a wee plug in that we became grandparents this week as well with our first grandchild.
Fantastic.
Our daughter is in Daisy Hill.
Lovely, bless her. We send fond regards in that direction, and it's wonderful. But for me, when I was possibly caught it a little bit earlier than you, and I was blessed in that regard. But I have found that one has got to be proactive for one's own well-being, because no one's going to do it for you. Once you're in the system and get on the carousel of care, it happens, and it happens magnificently. But I have seen people have come to me and told me, Rowan, I have asked for the test and they won't give it to me. They say it's not necessary. It's an imperfect indicator. And I would say, yes, the PSA is an imperfect indicator, but at least it's a broken signpost. It's a signpost.
It gets you on the carousel, and I think this is particularly about the male species. You know, going to the doctor is really the last thing we want to do.
Especially to talk about your parts underneath. God knows.
Absolutely, and you know, you mentioned that I remember those biopsies yet.
Oh, yeah.
But you know, it's a necessary part of.
It is.
Without those biopsies, without the surgery, without the treatment, I wouldn't be here to enjoy my family today.
And you wouldn't be here to be the education spokesman of the SDLP.
You know, in a strange sort of way, you know, it's funny how life is laid out for you, because my life, I thought, had fallen apart when I got this cancer, that I could believe my family, and having to make that decision to leave school was a very, very difficult decision. And it's in a funny sort of way, it was really, I always had an interest in politics, but it was, in a strange sort of way, it was sort of listening to a homily again got me back into it. I have a very, very good friend, you probably know him, Father Nicholas Hannity.
Yes.
Who spends his life out in Rwanda, and he just
Hannity,
celebrated 40 years in Africa there a couple of weeks ago. But a local councillor, Mickey Cole, died refereeing a football match up here at Ballyholland.
Indeed, God knows.
And at his funeral mass, whatever Nicky said or whatever, there's something spurred something in me that, you know, now it's time to help people along the road in a different way. To me, that's all politics is about.
It is.
And I got the buzz out of helping somebody with their maths, or helping some child or some teacher or whatever else. Now I get the buzz when you can help somebody along the road. And that's, to me, fulfillment is very important, Ronan. You know, and that was the vacuum was in my life when I was sitting at home waiting to go for my next bit of radium. You know.
Sean, thank you for coming in. Bless
Thanks,
you.
Ronan. Thank you.
And go well, as they say in Africa. Go well.
Thank you.
Isn't it marvellous? The man has survived by good watching. I have survived by good watching. We will go to our graves in 20 years' time, please God, or 30 years' time. We have a life because we were careful. We kept an eye on our health. And for men out there of a certain age, I think it's important to say it and to spell it out. When you're over 50, the PSA blood test will give you the indicator about the state of your prostate, and take it as an imperfect guide, but nevertheless a guide, and insist that you get that blood test. Well, that's it. We've come to the end of today's program. It's been a busy program indeed here in Destination Newry's Good Morning Newry and Mourne, Good Morning Ireland, Good Morning the World. Wherever you're watching, wherever you're logged in, wherever you're viewing, it's been good having you with us. Join me again tomorrow morning at 7:30 Irish time. And always remember, as I said there, my old African friends in the bush of northwest Nigeria, when you've done your best, when you've done everything you can do, and there's nothing more you can do to make things better, rest your head in your hand, and leave the rest to your God. Go well, take care. Sean, take it away.